We'll call the meeting to order. Tiffany, please take the roll.
Councilman Brennan.
Present.
Councilwoman Garvey.
Present.
Oh, sorry guys, you're gonna have to bear with my mic on my computer. I'll move it around here in a minute. Councilwoman Workala.
Present.
Councilman Harjo.
Present.
Mayor Sykes.
President, let the record reflect that we do have a quorum for Tuesday, March 26, 2024. We'll run down to presentations. The first presentation of FY23 Audit at Harrison Company. So, Paul, I'm going to hand it over to you.
Oh, Mayor and Council, I'd like to introduce Josh Tyree and Michelle Dillman. They're going to do the audit presentation for the 23 budget cycle. Okay. Yeah, or whatever's most. Oh, and I brought some extra water in for you. I don't know where you want it. Yep. I'll go grab some more.
Thank you for letting us come and present. Thanks. You have a couple things in front of you from us to go over the audit. One is just an audited financial statement that has all the details in it and our opinions that we issue. The other is a governance letter that we issue at the end of each audit as well. But I'm going to use the PowerPoint presentation just to kind of run through everything quickly for you guys. And if you guys have any questions, please feel free to ask me. I'll go on page 3 of the audit presentation. So just a really quick, our overview of what we do each year is to try and use government auditing standards to go through all the numbers and be able to put everything together and make sure that the audited statements that are in front of you are in accordance with government accounting standards. We also do uniform guidance reporting and single audits. So when you receive a certain amount of federal awards and you spend it, we have to do single audit testing to make sure they're being spent in an appropriate manner. And so we have 3 separate opinions in there. All of them we consider clean opinions, so what you would expect at the end of all the audits. The planning on page 4, our audit is kind of broken down into 3 different pieces. So I just highlight here, we're not forensic auditors, we're financial statement auditors. So we look at things on a risk basis. We can't test 100%. So we spend most of our planning gaining an understanding of what's going on during the year, what are the major projects, what are the major awards, looking at where we need to spend our time. Field work is when we're out here pulling invoices and all sorts of other documents and going through the testing, and then reporting is putting together all these reports to be compliant with all the requirements. The next page on slide 5 is significant items. So when we go through, we identify where we're going to spend our time. Here's the items. So revenue recognition, which includes everything from enterprise funds and fee charges to property tax revenues to grants, all the different revenue sources. Cash and investments, looking at the custody of those. Capital assets or capital outlay, so the spending and the infrastructure piece of the audit. Leases was new the last couple of years, so continues. There's a couple standards over the last couple of years that we've adopted, so looking at both operating leases, financial leases, and making sure they're recorded up to date. Single audit compliance, that's all the federal awards, making sure we're spending and following all the compliance requirements. And then fraud consideration. So like I said, we don't do a forensic audit, but we do a lot of different tests looking for fraud, making sure we're keeping our eyes out for it, and there was nothing to report on that either. So all good news. On page 6, just the statement of financial position in your statement. So total assets were $98 million at the end of the year. And of that, your infrastructure, your fixed assets make up 66% of the total assets. You can see your total liabilities, current liabilities, or what's coming up in the next year, is at $6 million. And you had long-term liabilities, mostly debt and some some of the stuff associated with the retirement at 19.5. So your total net position, which is assets minus liabilities, is $69 million, and of which $7.6 million was unrestricted. $58 million is invested in infrastructure, and then you have some that assets that you or cash and investments that you're holding on that are restricted for specific purposes, primarily the street oiling fund and some cash reserves held for debt. On the next page, I have some typos here, so I apologize. In the first paragraph, revenue increased to $27 million, and then it says the increase is due to a decrease, so that is a typo. So,
I was going to ask that question.
Yeah, so I apologize for that. We did see an increase in Revenue is more across the board, as we saw, small increases in a lot of different categories, nothing significant. Expenses also increased to 19.7 million in 2023. Your fund statements, that last bullet, so the fund statements in government accounting, you have two separate set of statements. You have government-wide statements, which we just kind of talked about, which includes like depreciation and debt and all that, and the fund statements, which are what you budget off of. So those are the ones that are really the focal point as you guys operate on a daily basis off fund accounting and fund statements. So your fund statements are 14.4 million in revenues, 11.9 million in expenses. So a total increase in your fund balance, which gets carried over to the following year to spend on, whatever the various funds are. Really quick on the graphs. I know your statements are like 100 and some odd pages long. So at the end, we always try and look at these graphs just to make sure things seem like we tested everything and they all looked good. There's government fund major revenue, so you can see from a fund accounting kind of the makeup of your revenue and where it's coming in. You can still see property taxes makes up 53% of the total revenue, and you kind of see how it breaks down. Occasionally we'll see grant revenue fluctuate just depending on the timing of when the grant is received. So on the next slide on page 9, you can see your fund expenditures. So by how they're outlined, again, some of these, because it's fund, when you make significant investments in capital outlay, it will fluctuate a little bit from one year to the next, but overall you can see things are staying fairly consistent. On page 10, or slide 10, you'll see kind of an increase in capital assets. That continues just to be the capital outlay. I think primarily this past year was the well that we looked at. That was a bulk of that. There were others as well, but the well was probably the largest one. The capital lease and notes payable, we didn't really have any new notes payable or debt this year, so just continued payment. And you're in compliance with all your debt compliances and you're current on all your payments, so no issues there. Slide 11 just talks a little bit more about capital outlay and principal and long-term interest payments, so you can see how that is coming down as you guys continue to make and pay off your debt. The last slide on page 12 is just the government-wide working capital. So this is current assets minus current liabilities. It's basically after you take all your cash, pay off all your current liabilities, what's left. And so you can see the city's in a very good position at just about over $24 million in working capital. Lastly, on the other communications, so we talked about significant accounting policies. If we disagreed, if we had any major disagreements with management on how to account for anything, we'd have to report that. We didn't have any disagreements. All journal entries were done. All internal control, we work closely with the city, not only during the audit, but then also through the year, trying to answer questions for them. So everything is done. We had really no significant items when it relates to internal control. We did have a restatement this year for findings, but it was all related to the government-wide financials and how recorded, mostly how it's a little bit of PERSI and then how to record grant funding associated with ARPA. Make sure I say that right. And they kind of changed how they wanted it done mid-year, so we're just keeping everything in compliance. So that is listed in the financial statements, but it had nothing to do with really internal controls, budgeting, funds spending, anything like that. It was more just on the financial aspect or the financial drafting of the report. With that, does anyone have any questions on the financials?
Mayor,
Councilwoman Workla?
on page 8, I was just curious for when it says governmental fund major revenues. Other is 19%. What would qualify as other, I guess?
Give me a second. So like earnings on investments, charges for services, trying to look through here. Franchise fees, some of that. If you look at your page of your financial statements on page 28, you'll see kind of an exhaustive list of all of the different revenues. And this table is just trying to summarize that.
Thank you.
No problem.
Mayor,
Councilman Brennan?
sorry, just before you guys came in, I missed a special meeting that was held about fiber and whatnot, and this council seems to have had a lot of questions in the past about our new department and the funding and expenditures of the fiber funds. Are you seeing any kind of issues or bad journal entries or anything like that with that program?
No, nothing from our end. The way it's being reported in your financial statements meets all the requirements from our end, and it's being disclosed and both in your funds and in your financial statements, the budget, everything's being done appropriately. So we didn't see any issues with that. And we do go through and test that. There'll be more testing done in the upcoming year as it continues to ramp up. It'll continue to draw more time and focus by us, but in the time we did spend on it, there was nothing that we identified.
Are there any recommendations for basically creating its own budgetary lines and essentially growing it from where it's at now into its own new department budget?
I mean, I think as it continues to grow, it'll follow very similar to your other enterprise funds that you guys have established, right? And so it'll have very similar budgetary lines and aspects. So it should be able to follow. You should be able to follow the same process you have with those others as well.
Okay. Sorry for probably the confusing question there. Not real clear.
So then next year on, let's say 68 and 69, there'll be a fiber special revenue line.
So if you look at like page 31 and then page 33, 31, 32, and 33, you will see the fiber fund is split out this year.
Oh.
And you'll see the balance sheet for the fiber fund on 31 and the liabilities on 32, and then on page 33, you'll see the fiber fund there. Right, those numbers will probably increase as the activity grows inside it.
Perfect. Cool. Council, you got any hard-hitting questions for Josh and his team?
On the spot here.
All right. Josh, I want to tell you thank you. I know we always have 1,000 questions we throw at you and your team. They've been great to work with. They get back to us in a timely manner. It's one of the things when you deal with government, right? You want to do it right. And so when we're very cautious, so we thank you for taking all the calls that we send your team. Like, can we do this? Is this right? I mean, yeah. So on my end, thank you, and thank your team too. Yeah, thank you.
Well, we appreciate it, and it is a ton of work when it comes to going through an audit, and Paula and her team and the mayor's team. I mean, we spend north of 500 hours testing, and that doesn't include the time they spend. So you guys put in a lot of work, so we appreciate it too.
Thanks. Yeah, we appreciate you guys a lot.
So,
All right. Any other questions? Thank you guys. Drive safe.
Thank you. Thanks for the
See you both.
All right, we'll run down to presentation number 2, presentation of WIACHE Elmore County Grant Update. Next steps by Alexis Pickering and Courtney Kelly with the Central District Health. Courtney and Alexis, this is your show.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor, Council. My name is Alexis Pickering. I'm the Program Manager for the Western Idaho Community Health Collaborative, otherwise known as WICHC. And I'm joined with Courtney Kelly, who is also the Program Coordinator for WICHC. So it's been a long time coming. Thanks for carving out some time for us today. So we wanted to get some new faces up to speed on our Get Healthy Idaho grant that we received back in 2020. Yeah, hard to believe. In total, the grant almost is $1 million that's targeted towards improving the health outcomes of Elmore County residents, which obviously includes Mountain Home. And so it was a very, it's been a really great grant opportunity. We've had some amazing successes. And so we wanted to give you guys an update with, and also like leave you with some potential next steps for you at City Hall to consider moving forward. Okay, so just to kind of reorient you to what is the Western Idaho Community Health Collaborative, we are based at Central District Health, but the collaborative is a 10-county initiative. So I am actually a shared employee of both Central and Southwest District Health, which is over half the state's population. It's a multi-sector public-private partnership, the only thing like it in the state. We've got 23 diverse members representing public health, healthcare, and community-based organizations. So nonprofits from all different kinds, representing all different types of groups with so much expertise, and really what grounds us in this collaboration is addressing the social influencers or determinants of health, which are those root causes, the upstream barriers that we know if we address those issues, we'll save on healthcare costs, we'll save on indigent funds, police, like all of those things, right? So trying to understand and unlock those challenges is critical to not only your community's success, but the counties and the states as a whole. So what is this grant? It was a collaborative grant between the Elmore County Health Coalition and WICHC, and it ends in September. So specifically the scope of this grant was to address poor behavioral health outcomes and your guys' high rates of suicide and depression. And if you didn't know already, Elmore County and Mountain Home has a very high prevalence of diabetes and chronic disease. So the grant amount, again, those are some of the figures for this specific grant, but we were able to also layer additional funds from some national partners to evaluate the activities, which was pretty exciting. So all in all, it was nearly $1 million spent in your community, which is huge. We last came back to you in that first year to share the results of an assessment, which I'm going to talk about in the next slide. Also just to kind of validate, like, this is what we heard from Mountain Home residents, and this is the initial action plan. So we've been busy implementing said action plan over the last 2 years. And so now we're just in the stage of, you know, finishing out some of these projects that we've been implementing, closing them out, finding the sustainability opportunities, and then wrapping up an evaluation. So we're going to be evaluating how did this actually improve health outcomes, how did it shift the way decision makers make decisions, how has this actually saved dollars in some cases, and how can the collaboration between, you know, folks on the ground in Elmore County, how did that work with our collaborative, for example. So these are the members of a steering committee that's really directed and guided Courtney and myself over the last 4 years. So Elmore County Commissioner Bud Corbis, your incredible employee, Mr. Ty Larson, who's been just truly a pleasure to work with. Mary Ferguson, CEO of Desert Sage, Christy Accord, Vicki Jekic from St. Luke's, and Jeff Johnson from the Mountain Home School District. So you can see a really great slate of people that are really committed to this work and have been exceptional partners to work with. So why we picked these activities is basically it was driven by this assessment that we completed. So we did the first ever qualitative assessment for the county, and that, and when I say qualitative, it's kind of the why. So we already knew a lot of the clinical data components about what does health look like from a, you know, cancer or tobacco cessation or mammography screenings. We already had all that information, but we really wanted to know, like, what is driving those high rates of depression or suicidal ideation, right? So we took the time, we had work groups, we had interviews, we did surveys, and so the results of that elevated and reinforced that mental health needed to be a priority, as well as ease of access to outdoor amenities and physical activity opportunities, and creating connections amongst our local healthcare partners. So those were the top 3 priorities that Elmore County residents and Mountain Home really spoke to in this assessment that drove the action plan that we implemented over the last 3 years. And that model is very unique in Idaho, and this funding came from the Get Healthy Idaho grant, which is a state-funded program. So I'll turn over to Courtney.
So there were 4 projects that came out of that qualitative assessment that were created to be undertaken over the next 3 years. And we're going to highlight 2 of them today, which was the Community Health Emergency Medical Services pilot and then Open Space and Trails Initiative. So Community Health Emergency Medical Services, I'm going to call CHEMS, is a program that helps intervene on folks using 911 for non-emergency needs. You know, sometimes they're calling 911, don't necessarily need to go to the emergency room, but have underlying health concerns such as like trouble managing diabetes medication or lack of connection to social services. And this program helps intervene on that, which gets at the root cause of those issues, why they're calling 911, but also reduces burden on our 911 system. We've hired next slide.
Thank you.
Elmer County's community paramedic is Dr. Jennifer Rhodes, who is fantastic. So was hired in September of 2023, and this is just a list of some of her qualifications. CHEMS has been operating since September when she was hired. She does 40 hours a week split into office hours and clinical hours. So a CHEMS program, the EMTs or paramedics that work within that program do not respond to 911 calls like a normal EMT or paramedic. They do like a normal 9 to 5 or whatever hours work for them, but do house calls or phone calls or going and visiting people. So it's a little bit of a different model, but works because EMTs are very trusted in the community. So she splits between office and clinical hours. Since September, it was between September and February, she's seen 147 folks, with 60 patients specifically for Mountain Home in that time, but for a variety of reasons, which I've listed there. And
Courtney, is she paid through this grant then?
Yes.
And then she obviously lives here, works here?
Yes.
Okay, and then you said that the grant ends in September?
Yes.
So what happens when the money's gone?
So the funders at the state are really excited about this program. Out of other programs they funded, this has been one of the most successful, so we're looking to fund for another year.
Nice.
There's other sustainability options of getting funding from other programs. One, which is the Alzheimer's and Other Dementias program at the state, has offered some money. And there's also interest from the Elmer County Commission to fund this program.
And I think that additional funding will give the program more time to collect data around how is it, which funding streams make the most sense, where are some of those funding gaps potentially, and at some point it's going to have to offload and become a standing program that's funded and self-sustained by the community. So, but yeah, we're really excited that the partners that Courtney's been able to assemble are very eager to keep this going for another year, despite the grant ending.
Nice.
And that's the way to get a hold of
Jennifer.
Jennifer. All right, so open space and trails. So again, these are just 2 out of the 4 projects that we've been able to work on over the last 4 years, which is huge. So the project purpose, so we wanted to expand, protect, and preserve outdoor recreational opportunities in Elmore County. I think access to open space is such a part of an Idahoan's DNA, right? We love to live here because of that access and how big it is in terms of who we are as Idahoans. And when we talk to folks about, what is why are you having such a hard time with these types of health issues? How is this, impacting your mental health even? Folks were like, yeah, there's all this open space, but I don't know how to access it, or it's not well marked, or I don't know how to get there because I only have one vehicle for our family, right? So it was kind of those nuances of, yeah, it's there, but I have no idea how to get there. And there was those folks, and there's the folks that have been here forever who know those property owners who have an adjacent trail to public land or whatever, who are like, yeah, I've been going up here since I was a kid with my grandparents, right? So there was these 2 very different realities in terms of how do we actually increase that access for everyone. And so we wanted to address that head on. And so with the guys that this would also improve not only just those recreational opportunities, but that'll actually move the needle on mental and physical health outcomes. So to do that, we had to level set around what actually exists in terms of open space. What is a vision for open space for the county? And so we actually created that with help from a consultant. So we worked with residents, folks that live here, partners like BLM, all these other groups to say, what should the vision be in an ideal situation about how we actually protect and promote and preserve that open space and trails. So those are some of those partners. So that set the stage. And so then it was like, okay, out of this vision, there needs to be an action plan. And so that's actually what we just completed. And so that we looked at GIS data, all sorts of different things to pinpoint, okay, these are the exact trails or these different types of corridors that we could preserve. These are the opportunities that align with this vision. And so that's essentially what's in this action plan. So we did a huge public engagement effort. We had 353 respondents. Do you want to mention the size difference with that one?
Yeah, I think for the size of Elmer County, there was a similar survey done in Canyon County, which has a lot more residents and had less respondents. So I'm very, very excited about the number of respondents we got.
So was this, did you find most of your respondents from the city or the county? Who?
Yeah, city was the highest proportion, but it was like proportional to the who lives in each city. So Glens Ferry was next, and then Pine Featherville.
You had good representation from the city. And then we also conducted individual interviews, and then Courtney facilitated open houses in Mountain Home and Glens Ferry. Here's some pictures of those conversations. Folks could kind of, they were able to, you can kind of see the sticky notes and the dot voting, so they could say, yeah, these are the ones that I would prioritize for these reasons. Also, hey, like I noticed that this trail isn't on here, but we recreate there. So yeah, it was a really great way to also collect that feedback. So with that, it's a really great report. I know you guys are very busy and get a lot of things thrown at you, but I highly suggest you read it. It's easy reading, and basically out of that we came up with a list of projects, but there's 13 priority projects. And those we made sure that they were consistent throughout the county. And so there's some things that are obviously some opportunities for Mountain Home to consider, but then there's some things that I think too, we articulated as a group a lot, that even if it's outside of the city's bounds, you guys stand to benefit a lot from supporting or, being a passive partner and endorser of some of these activities, because that's an amenity that your citizens will enjoy. So there's kind of that direct and indirect benefit as well. So in those 13 priority projects, I wanted to highlight the top 4 that have the connection with City of Mountain Home specifically. So these are for you guys to just kind of gnaw over. I'm not telling you to do this right now, but one of them is, develop a land use regulation incentivizing pathway, open space, and trail investments. Establish a regional partnership for Foothills trail system, which you guys would be a part of. Reconvene regional partnership groups to develop a Snake River Trail and Water Trail recreational corridor, and create a commuter pathway connecting Mountain Home to the Air Force Base. So those are the 4 that specifically fall within your jurisdiction, but there's a couple other ones that are really exciting on here that I hope that you guys might like as well, and that is installing trail maps and improved wayfinding signage, the Mayfield Trail connection, hardscaping on the Heritage Trail, which is in Glens Ferry, and then formalizing the Teapot Dome Trail. But any questions that we can answer specifically about these projects?
Good to go.
Sounds good. So we really want this to be a tool that you guys use ultimately, right? Because this whole action plan was developed with grant dollars, and it's not really useful if it just sits on a shelf. So that's really why we wanted to leave you with some specific action items to consider. We would be happy to come back in a more formal work session capacity if that's your direction. But really wanted to reemphasize with the next 2 slides, like how much value these opportunities have for your residents, not only on a health side, but just as you guys grow, you've got this unique window of opportunity before all this development happens to put in these standards and expectations so that, development can pay for itself, or at least pay for some of those amenities that are nearly impossible to put back in after the fact. So, yeah, we've got improved life expectancy, reduced risk of cardiovascular disease, reduce incident of diabetes and improve mental health outcomes. So obviously we're public health folks, so we care about that, but want to just highlight those things as well for you all to kind of reinforce those pieces. Okay, so here are some potential action items I wanted to leave with you. So I think at the minimum, you guys have a great comprehensive plan, and ideally this action plan could be adopted via resolution into that comprehensive plan. So it's a great document that you just reference and guide development that, hey, this is something that you need to be mindful of as you grow. The second option is to, in addition to that, you could be also using this action plan to strengthen and support your existing pathways plan. So there's a couple pieces and parts that are on this action plan that are not part of your pathways plan. So it would be great to have that cross-pollination as well, and improve your pathways plan with this updated stuff. And then lastly, truly integrating this action plan looks like updating some city code and ordinances. And that would be, a really actual, active type work, which we could, look at design standards, all sorts of different things. So that would be a really more technical one that we could work with your staff on to come up with some recommendations. And then the last one would be, starting the process of developing your own trails and open space plan. So pathways, especially in a city, are different than open space and trails. They can have some crossover, of course, but want to be just, that these are two different types of things, and they can be really compatible when you're mindful about that. So those are the options that we wanted to leave with you all, and would really like some direction on how you guys would like to proceed.
Council, what do y'all want to do?
Yeah.
Councilman Brennan?
Alexis, did in this open space and trails plan project, did you guys utilize any hands-on labor trying to clean up a path or a trail or get one revitalized yet? Any action hands-on in the field yet with that stuff?
So that would actually be coming next. So we're talking about organizing a walk to Teapot Dome to evaluate that and what it would look like to actually improve it. But essentially this is to we've been working with the county commission. Courtney's already presented to Glens Ferry City Council, so you guys are last on our list, to see how the cities in the county can do their own their fair share in accommodating the actions in the plan. But we haven't physically built any trails yet. We needed to have this action plan first, if that's the most succinct way to answer your question, Councilman.
What pops up to my mind, it might sound weird, but to see if there's a Boy Scout group willing to come to the table and help us as part of the partnership. Somebody trying to seek their Eagle Scout or whatever, big project.
Mr. Mayor, and I think Councilman Brennan, I think that's exactly what these regional partnerships or those other coordinating groups could facilitate.
Okay.
We need kind of that group, and we've identified some of those existing bodies, but they've been very focused on, ATV trail usage, right? And so it's about having a conversation with them to say, hey, can this fall under this scope with this existing group, or do you need to establish a separate entity that's focused on bringing in those types of volunteers?
Sure. Cool.
Great question.
Councilwoman Garvey, sorry,
Wait, they can barely hear you because I can't move that mic.
Yeah, sorry. I speak as loud as I can. I just had a quick question. Are there any efforts, or I don't know, maybe it's not in your guys' scope of work, are there any efforts to maybe continue to reach out for some other grants to help facilitate some of these projects? Or are you guys just the planning portion of it, and then we're going to get there, hopefully, with the work being done?
you heard that, Alexa?
Yeah. So,
Alexa, sorry.
Mr. Mayor, I think, so what's really great about this grant is since we have the action plan completed, we've used what remaining funds we have in this grant cycle to deploy Agnebeck, which is our consultant, to talk through what are those other grant opportunities and how can we kind of, again, hand this over to the land use partners, who then can go ahead and get going really quickly on this. So we're currently fact finding all of that information. But we would then, bring it back to, if it's a county thing, we'd give it to the county. If it's a city thing, we'd give it to you, or this regional partnership or countywide partnership. That information we would be providing to you at the end of the grant.
Okay. Thank you.
And it would likely cover just a handful of the projects that are on that priority list. It wouldn't include the exhaustive list that's on that action plan, because we had to be strategic about what grant funds we had left.
Chris, our master transportation plan has to have pathways in there as well, right?
It does. We have an active transportation component of that, yeah.
And did you guys get that? Oh, you guys got that whole finding, so we just got done with it?
You saw our previous.
I think we saw our
pathways
previous,
plan. They
yeah.
haven't seen that because it hasn't been approved by council yet.
Oh, okay. We'll have to get that to you.
That'd be great.
You guys can throw all that in the mix. Okay, council, direction. What do you guys want to do?
Mayor.
Councilman Workla.
So on page, well, I guess they're not numbered. The top 13 priority projects. So the 4 that are highlighted, you say kind of fit within the city. Is that okay? So like number 8 says create a commuter pathway connecting Mountain Home to the Air Force Base. Is that really city? Or
Well, we actually had a talk with Brenda and Marty this week, and the Air Force Base owns part of it. The city owns, like, I think it was 4.6 miles leading up there, and then the rest is from the base. But Marty indicated that the base would be interested in collaborating.
So do like a quasi rails to trails kind of thing, where it's still utilized for commercial use, but then if, you could still use the rail line to get out there.
Yeah, that was the idea.
And I don't, it would be a multi-use pathway, right? So, like I don't want to get too in the weeds, but, it typically looks like a 10-foot wide pathway, right? With, that would accommodate both pedestrians and bicyclists typically, with a variety of surface treatments. So that could be paved, it could be gravel, right? But we want to get there's a lot of need, and we heard a lot from residences that they wanted something like that to get to the base and vice versa.
Okay.
Mayor?
Councilman Harjo.
this is terrible.
Courtney and Alexis, thank you guys for coming. It's really enlightening. It does tie well into like our walkability, bikeability study, master transportation plan. This body and our Planning and Zoning Commission have discussed several times about the possibility of rebooting the age-old idea of like a master parks plan. I think these things are all starting to kind of congeal, so it's very promising in that sense. Earlier, you guys mentioned that there was some possible funding coming from the state, or things that like you're hopeful for. Is there something that this body could do, letters of support, those kind of things, to help push us over, over the top to get some of that funding allocated?
Mr. Mayor, Councilman Harjo, I mean, are you referring to like specific things within the open space and trails scope, or just overall?
I think just overall, in terms of funding for your program, more than anything, like as the grant sunsets in September, and helping this organization through letters of recommendation or what have you, like achieve more funding to continue work in that sense.
I mean, we were the first ever recipients of this grant award through the state, and so we've been able to demonstrate to them and their funders that this model works really well. But they, as a result of like how they do things, they will not be offering any additional funding. So we would have to find new opportunities, which I'm actively looking at various funds, but and grant opportunities as they come through. But we definitely have had, because this is a 10-county collaborative, there's been some pressure to say, okay, things have been going so well over here in Elmer County, how can we make sure that we then share the love to another community? And we haven't gotten, just to be quite frank, we haven't gotten some clear direction from various entities about how they would like to continue to partner with us. So I think if that was worked through and communicated that, hey, we want to focus and continue to work with you on X, Y, and Z, then that would make that funding search a lot easier, and then we could come back to you for like those letters of support or what have you.
Gotcha.
Councilman Brennan? Sorry.
I'm good, thank you.
Okay. Okay, ladies, what's your ask?
I'm asking to see if you guys will adopt it by resolution as your comprehensive plan. Potentially talk to you guys about some of your other plans that are in the queue. How can we inform some of that work? Really just kind of getting the ball rolling on acting on some of these priorities.
So council, you copacetic to having them draft you up something and have you look at it and possibly,
We can come back for a work session, Mayor, if that's okay.
you guys want to do that?
Mayor,
Yeah, sure.
Councilwoman Garvey?
just a quick question. Ladies, I apologize, I'm not face to face and I'm over the Zoom and it's probably hard to hear me. Is there any idea, and this may be out of the scope of work that you guys have put into this wonderful presentation, is there any idea how much any of these projects may cost? Or is that something you haven't gotten that far yet?
Mr. Mayor, council member, are you talking about the projects of each of these individual components within the grant, or are
Yeah.
you talking? Go ahead.
Yeah, so for example, say we'll just stick with number 5, incentivizing the pathway, open space and trail investment. Has there been any research or work or anything put behind that to get an idea of the actual cost of this improvement?
In terms of the cost to develop those regulations, or the cost of the actual, like, once it's implemented?
All of it, yeah, all of it. Just how much would number 5 look like? Is there something like that that's been put into place? I'm just curious if this is just you guys did the research of what the citizens want, and then we still have kind of some work to do on the actual cost behind it all.
I think you're, Mr. Mayor, council member, I think, we definitely have like a ballpark estimate of what things would cost, but we definitely, and that varies on each of these projects.
Right, of course.
But there's a lot of, as you probably can see within this list, like there's a lot of variation around scope and partners, right? So we definitely don't have hard numbers for what this would cost.
Okay.
That's really up to, again, like the partners that take this plan to the next level to research, what elements of this would we support, and then how much would that cost, and then I would obviously reinforce like the value is then correlated to those costs as well. So you have it.
Yeah, that's great. That answers my question. Thank you.
Okay. Good question.
Mayor.
Councilwoman Wickle?
Yeah, there's so much here. I feel like you said you want a workshop or a, what did you say? A workshop?
Yeah, work session, workshop.
Work session, yeah. Yeah, because I want to chew on some of this, and it looks like a lot of these numbers, and according to this map, they correlate, correct?
Yeah, they might. Yeah, they should correlate in the plan document itself. I'm not sure.
I mean, they're all out of the city, correct? These are all out of the city,
All counties.
all in the county,
Yes.
right?
Yeah, yeah.
And they're asking the city to partner in with the county because city residents want to use this in the county?
Yeah.
I focus on city issues, right? And so that's why I'm just trying to correlate, what are you asking from the city?
So, Mr. Mayor, council member,
Uh-huh.
there's key components within this plan that are within the city's jurisdiction.
Okay.
So that's what we're talking about.
That's why probably workshop or a working session, yeah, to clarify all of that, yeah.
Mayor,
Councilman Harjo?
for instance, some of the things like number 5 on the priority
Uh-huh.
list, develop example land use regulations incentivizing pathway, open space, and trail investment. An example of that could be we make modifications to our ordinances that provide for like expanded right-of-ways that include trail-like or pathway for walkability, bikeability. It was something that was discussed back in the time that the walkability study was happening. I would think that that's kind of an example of how within the city, if we as we hone our ordinances and we decide how this city grows going forward, if we implement aspects of that into, and when we're developing new green space, this will be the requirement for this zoning area that we include parkway travel
Mayor,
Councilwoman.
within the city.
within the city.
Okay, yeah, because like 6, so everything's highlighted, I think, is correlated, you're saying, to the city. But like 6 foothills, that's not in the city. 7, that's down in Hammond area, right? According to your map. So that's why I was just trying to figure out what the ask is. Or,
Well, Mr. Mayor, I want to highlight the whole point of it is it's a regional partnership, right? So there's some parts that are going to be very city driven, but then there's room for opportunity to have a more regional focus or a countywide focus. That the city, it being the population hub of the county, has a lot of sway, more resources, and your population is using those resources, right? So this isn't asking for an outside investment or staff time. It's just saying, hey, there's room for opportunity for that collaboration and to talk through, hey, we have these resources or these volunteers, or hey, let's work on letters of support together to acquire these funds. It's not anything that would be outside of your guys' scope.
Mayor.
Councilman Harjo?
Recognizing we don't necessarily have an action item out of this, I definitely would love to see that work session come to fruition, based on city scheduling, scheduling which and the associated staff to work through what that collaboration looks like, and then work towards putting it on our agenda to adopt a resolution that supports that.
Okay, you have consensus.
Thank you. Thanks for your time, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
All right, go down to recognizing persons in the audience. Good to see you. Please limit comments to a maximum of 3 minutes. Come on down.
Go ahead. Numbers. I'm not sure which one of us ladies he was looking at. Probably all of us, right?
Hello. I was at this last meeting, and I'm Anita Hill, and I live out in the county, on Mellon subdivision. And the Mellon subdivision water district, I try to go to all those meetings. And I'm misunderstanding Erica when she talked to you last time about the money situation. We gave them paper to do a grant for $200,000. Tonight I'm going to their meeting to see if they actually went for the grant, because they extended that grant from a cutoff date to the 29th of February. And they had 4 days to do that. So, and another thing, we have questioned her on the board because she does not live out in our county. And the bylaws say, and the Idaho statutes say, you have to live in the county to be on any board. And I'm learning all this because I'm out there and I'm on 2 boards, kind of, so. And we have notified the Secretary of State and the Attorney General on all of this, awareing that this is illegal, kind of, sort of. So the board has not been giving us any posting attendance of these meetings, and they have not contacted us on the majority of the residents asking for opinions of annexing into the city. Most of us do not want that because of all the rules we would have to follow, which we already have out there in our county. So the board has had many opportunities for grants, but has not taken the initiative to apply for them. And I will find that out tonight. I've talked to Hiddleston, and they think that it should be salvageable for doing another well or fixing it somewhat how it is deteriorating and making all the pumps go. And also I work for the sewer line, West Side Sewer, so that affects us too out there. And also I don't know if your council people know that the sewer lines out there are owned by West Side Sewer District. So when Mr. Harlan, he passed away unfortunately, asked for water from you. You directly gave him to say that he had to pay for water and sewer, but the sewer lines are West Side Sewer. So I'm not understanding how that works. And I know Mr. Brennan said that eventually we were going to be sold out to the city. That was quite a while ago. So I don't understand how the ordinance can change. Now, she's on Colthorpe. We own, city lines go from Colthorpe, Foster, Bradford, and all the way down, run to Brista, the coffee shop. How does that Colthorpe, where Mr. Harlan was living and his wife, they were only going to have sidewalk and sewer, or sidewalk and curb. They're the only ones in the county that will have that. How does that work?
Okay, so what we'll do is.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, you're good, you're
I didn't
it's fine. So what we're gonna do is, Tiff's gonna grab your number.
Okay.
And then, we'll give you a buzz, okay?
Okay, because I'd just like to know how that all works for that stuff.
Okay. Councilman
Thank you so much.
Quick question.
Hey, Anita,
Yes,
Councilman Bray would like to ask
Oh.
a quick question.
When you say that Erica doesn't live in the county, do you mean the neighborhood?
right.
Okay. And the state law you're referencing is
Yeah, the
within
Idaho statute says it,
within that boundary, not the county.
right.
Okay, thank you.
And I know we all have problems getting somebody to run on our board.
Right.
So, I'm sorry.
You're good.
Tiffany knows me a lot. I always ask for questions and paper. Thank you so
Anita.
much for your time.
Come on down.
Mayor and Council, my name is Pastor Patty with All In Church, and I come to you today to speak on behalf of the old business, number 1, which is about signage. And I did send a message to the council, but I would like to just speak to it and let you know that from a small business perspective, there is not much advertising that we can do from a city point of view within the city boundaries. For example, I was looking at the walls at Wells Fargo to do one which would have cost me less than $800 a year. It's like $300 a year, and then it was like $2 something for the sign or something like that. And I was looking at that, but Wells Fargo's closed that down. So that wasn't an option. The only other real option I have as a small business is to advertise in the newspaper, which isn't very good access, and to do Right Start briefing flyers, which really I've done since 2006. We've done them at the church and has not been any good in bringing in people. I did ask about like the big banner signs that were on the Cox building at one point, and those run like $4,000. And, little businesses like us can't do that. And there's really nowhere else to advertise. And so I listened to the meeting on the video from March 12th because I wasn't here. And I heard that you guys were going to shut down the $100 a month sign at Cox. And originally I thought they were talking about the Big Mountain Home sign, which I think is more of a distraction than the one on the Cox wall. But $100 a month to be able to advertise on that sign, digital sign, is better than having nowhere to really advertise. And so I just want to make note that small businesses don't really have a place to advertise. And I would like to see the city, you have signs up there by Walmart that has the organizations listed, and those are real proud and loud. As you come in, you can see them on the wood sign, but you have nothing for city businesses. And so I just would like that to be considered. I know that this is coming up on a vote because I looked at the agenda. And so I just want to ask you as a council to really look at that from our point of view. There is no place for us. You take away that $100 sign, you limit us again. And so just think about that. The big businesses in town, other churches in town can pay the $4,000 for that big sign, but the little people can't. So just take that into consideration as you make your vote today. Thank you. Oh, do I need to sign anything?
No,
You're
no.
good.
No. Ted?
Council Mayor, I'm Ted Thompson. I request that you add to the council's agenda discussion and decision to authorize the study of management of the city's airport. The current system of management is ineffective, having not provided critical advice for development around the airport that is leading to encroachment, nor properly and effectively monitored the current airport management contract that has resulted in a significant number of breaches and has violated the Federal Aviation Administration's grant assurances for receiving airport improvement program funds. Neither the city staff nor the Airport Advisory Committee noticed these errors, and the Airport Advisory Committee, made up of mostly recruits and friends of the airport manager, enables these errors. Dr. Michael Jones, an experienced pilot, airport manager, and an airport authority chairman, has researched the management of small airports. His research has identified several problem areas. One area is government ownership. Governments do not fund for-profit businesses well. One area, or they run them inexpertly. Elected officials do not typically understand airports. Governments serve constituents, not customers. Government is not concerned with cost control. It's not their money. Municipal accounting systems typically do not track profit and loss. Government runs on momentum, doing what has always been done. Government uses the wrong organizational chart, using a multifunctional structure similar to a Swiss Army knife, handy but not the best tool for a specific task. Airports with voluntary advisory boards underperform. Privately owned and or privatized airports, where the operations are outsourced to a private company, the current situation at Mountain Home Airport, almost always underperform. The city invested significant tax dollars to purchase fuel storage and dispensing capability. It gave use to that capability to a contractor for pennies on the dollar. The city will never recoup that investment and may not even recoup the cost of maintenance of that equipment. The city has given access to its facilities to the same contractor at no cost, while several entities wanted to pay rent to have access to those facilities. The city requires others to pay to park their aircraft on the ramp, while the contractor pays nothing for his airplane brokerage and flight training business. Contractors prevented access to the city-owned facilities in a discriminatory manner. The city renovated its airport terminal building without ensuring compliance with American with Disabilities Act discrepancies identified by city staff. All these actions were taken without input from the Airport Advisory Committee, highlighting its ineffectiveness. Dr. Jones advocates for organizing the airport as a for-profit business with autonomous and knowledgeable board of directors to add expertise and distance the airport from political pressures. This board has 5 to 7 members and includes marketing, economic development, financial management, civil engineering, aeronautics, and aviation law expertise. Should not use politicians or more than 50% airport users. Service should be limited to 10 years. Dr. Jones found that using this structure increased airport performance as much as 20 times. The proposed study will research and propose the path ahead to an organization that maximizes the airport performance, limits political interference, ensures a level playing field for all airport users, provides a safe, disciplined airport environment, oversees any contract compliance, and ensures FAA grant assurance compliance. Could I get 2 more sentences, please?
2 more sentences.
I have discussed this study with Dr. Christopher Wallard, and he has agreed to take this on if the council approves. Unfortunately, he's not able to attend this meeting, so I ask that you add this topic to the agenda at the soonest opportunity to implement the study to get the airport on a high-performance track, as suggested by Dr. Jones's research.
Please do. Anybody else like to speak? Bud?
Okay, I wasn't going to say anything, but after listening to that audit, is it possible to get a copy of the pages 31, 32, and 33 for the public? Is it possible that I can get a copy of that? Because I'll tell you why, when I looked at the budget that Tiffany sent me, it's hard to understand because it goes in reverse order. And like I mentioned last meeting, a lot of it was confusing on what was spent, what was not spent on the fiber. So my question is this open to the public, and may I get a copy?
Yeah, you just have to do a records request.
Okay.
Yep.
That's all I
wrote
need.
it down, so.
Thank you.
Thank
I
you.
will email you. Thank you.
Anybody else?
Mayor, City Council. I was at the last meeting you guys had, and you guys were going over the possibly
What's your name? I'm sorry.
Tess Beagle.
Tess, okay.
Doing a new contract with Curly's on the golf course. I have been pulling some records and everything. I pulled the lease, read through everything, have sent it in, and been having it looked at. And I seem to find a lot of discrepancies in the city's records, how much is being paid at the golf course, to what the city is paying out. And I'm finding that the taxpayers are paying basically for that business to be running at the golf course. And so instead of just re-signing a new lease for Curly's, I'm asking that the city council and everybody, if anybody would say anything, to open it up for bid, because the city's losing money, the taxpayers are. I think that the city could have a lot more improvements at the golf course with having a different restaurant in there, and also taking a little less, I think, from the city by reworking the lease and the contract out there. And I think that there needs to be some new blood. I think there's a lot of improvements that could be made out there, and I'm asking that you guys do not re-sign the lease and that you guys open it up for bid for other people that want to come in and take over the restaurant part and make the contract to where the city will not be losing money, because it's all of our taxpayer dollars that is basically supporting that business, and then the city is having to pay all of that with our money, and I don't think that that's fair. I think somebody should be paying a fair amount out there. It is a year-round restaurant, and it is kind of the face of Mountain Home for a lot of things out at the golf course, so I feel that with it being open for bid, that we could bring a lot more to the golf course to help improve golf tournaments, any of the functions that go on out there, to help with the fundraising for the fireworks, things like that. But all I'm kind of getting the idea of right now is that the city is paying out more and more and more money for the equipment at the restaurant, at the golf course and everything, and I think it needs to be relooked at and open for bid for other restaurants and other people that want to try it.
Thanks, Tess.
Okay?
Councilman.
Would you mind submitting an email to Tiffany about the evidence you found and how we're losing money, so we can research that?
Well, absolutely.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Rod Dudley, Council, Mayor. I'd sent an email to all the council people about this, and I don't necessarily understand it, but on paper it is confusing. And what it is it's in the budget that's going to be approved tonight, but it's on the workers' comp that's paid out of each department. And in going through it, general fund has 44,000. I'll just round it up, 44,000 paid out of it for workers' comp. And then you get down into like the fire department is $2,300. The police department's roughly $10,000. And general, I know, would probably employ more people than some of the other departments. Water department, sewer is about $3,000 between the two of them. And then you get into the golf course, and it's $25,000. I don't know why the golf course, when it has very few employees, would have such a high workers' comp compared to some of the other departments. So if that could be explained to us or looked into, I think that's important to know. And that's really all I had.
Thanks.
Thanks, guys.
Crystal.
Mayor, Council, my name is Crystal Powell, and I live off of 18th Street here in town. I just wanted to communicate that it is disheartening to see that one business who offers advertising suffer while another business succeeds. It is alarming that this business is succeeding, happens to be not following city ordinances for one of its signs. It appears as though that this individual feels that they are a victim of the city, and while those are understandable qualms, it cannot go unnoticed that these are still violations were it not for the conditional use permit, which is already being utilized for 2 other off-premises billboards. He would be in violation of at least 3 city ordinances, being 913.3 Section B, C, and at least 2, if not more, under 913.5 the chart. And at the present moment, the electronic sign is in fact in violation of these city ordinances because the permit is not fully represented yet. If there is not a conditional use permit for the electronic sign, then it shouldn't be operational in this moment. There are a lot of opportunities for business to advertise in the city of Mountain Home, and not just with this electronic sign, and it kind of seems to be an ignored topic. None of these were mentioned by anybody implying that or by everybody who is implying that this electronic sign is the only form of advertising for the city. And so I just wanted to communicate that there are other forms for advertising within the city that aren't just this electronic sign.
Thanks, Crystal.
Council, Council, Mayor, I'm Stone Gust. I have there's some apartments on a complex on Bradford. The developers said at the planning and zoning meeting that they would keep up with the sewer district, informing us when they are digging near our sewer lines. We haven't been contacted by Digline. I called Digline and they said they don't have any permit to currently be digging. The last one they had was when they hooked onto the water line. Their permit is expired, and they've been digging for year to nowhere, curb and gutter, the same with Harlan's, and the city failed to either notify us, even though it's on the other side of the road, or whatever, but nobody said anything. Another thing with the golf course, there's a pretty good trip hazard within about 40 feet of the entrance there. I would think you guys would take care of that. And also with the airport, I presented a 4-page paper for questions to be asked about the airport. I have not yet to even hear anything about any of them. And I brought them here. I have copies of it, but I don't have them with me. But I presented them. Also, I hate to do it to you, but I've been looking at some of the outhouses, and they're not looking too pretty. The porta potties, they're filthy. And there's no hand sanitizer. I just used the one down here at the railroad park. Luckily, I had hand sanitizer in there in my car, and it's kind of trashed. It's not as bad as it was the time before when I come to a meeting. Because over at Legacy just a few days ago, they cleaned that one within. Well, they cleaned it the 7th, and I forget what the other day was. Within a few days, about less than a week, and I was there the 19th. I think it was the 14th they cleaned it. It was plumb full of trash, and still there's no nets on the couple of hoops out there, all kinds of stuff going on. No trash cans, you name it. And some of the greenbelt stuff, some of it's getting addressed finally, but just, you know, I know you guys can't do it all, but there's a few things that I feel that should be addressed a little more concerning. Thank you.
Thank you. Tiff, will you write your code on a piece of paper? I forgot to do an announcement, so I can go get my phone real quick.
Anybody else? All right. We're going to run down to, we're just going to run down to declaration of conflict of interest. Has any council member received information pertaining to, otherwise had any contact with any person regarding items on this city council? If so, please set forth the nature of that said contact.
Mayor.
Council Harjo.
I know I received several of these emails. Nancy from Park University at the Air Force Base, Pastor Patty, phone call from a man named Sean, all regarding the Cox Signs item on our agenda.
Want to concur that everybody's gotten those?
In addition, Mayor,
Councilwoman Workla?
in addition to Ron Cox reached out to us as well. And then, do you have more? I have more. TJ Gomez and Scott McNeely for number 2 on new business.
Same.
Same, I got an email from Ted Thompson as well.
All right, run down to, sorry, Councilwoman Garvey.
She said me too. She got all the same information too.
Okay.
I'm trying to make sure my speakers.
Mayor.
Councilman Harjo.
Would it be advantageous for us to dial her in now that we don't have a presentation on the board?
Well, she's got, she's trying to get her speakers up there, right?
Councilwoman Garvey, can you speak?
Yes. Hi.
Keep talking. I'm gonna make the IT manager get up and help me. Watching him struggle.
I'm gonna go grab my phone real quick.
Struggle's real.
Becky, I think you should sing a song, okay, for everybody here.
Only if it's videotaped. Only if Tiffany can start her video again.
I'm a little teapot. I'll be the first one.
Yeah. I apologize. I
Is it better?
Oh, we got
Hey,
it.
we got
Ta-da!
it. Good job, Brandon.
Brandon knows. He knows what he's doing.
Good job.
Okay, you can start performing right now.
Okay. Excellent.
Okay, we're waiting for the mayor to return, and then we're ready to rock and roll.
All right, sweet.
Get her?
Got her. Don't ask us how we did it, but we did it. Brandon did.
All right.
Way to watch her struggle.
Okay. We'll run down the consent agenda. Council, do you want to pull something, talk about something more in depth?
Mayor,
Councilwoman Workla?
I would like to pull K on the consent agenda.
Okay.
Mayor,
Councilman Brennan?
I'd like to pull item I and N. And like Nancy.
Pull an N?
Mayor,
Okay.
in conjunction with I, can we pull J?
What one, sorry?
J?
J.
Mayor,
Councilwoman Garvey?
I just have a quick question on L. Set a public hearing for establishing driving range ball buckets.
Uh-huh.
Can you give us a quick update on the driving range?
Currently, they're waiting for a building to be delivered. Since it's in the floodway, it has to be a metal building down there. Hank, you want to correct me if I'm wrong on that?
Floodplain.
Floodplain, sorry. Has to be a metal facility, and so that's what we're waiting on. And then they'll hook up, we'll get the what's it called, range servant ball dispenser. But right now, hence we don't have any fees established. I don't know how they did it back in the day with when the city owned, or not owned, we still own it, but when the city ran it, the golf course, I don't know how they charge for buckets without ever doing a public hearing or any of that. So that was news to us, and we had Tiffany go back. So that's where we're at right now. So right now, you know, it's free play or free range, small bucket of balls, I guess, at the driving range until we get this public hearing done.
So I guess my question, and again, I don't mean to belabor on this topic. I don't necessarily feel like it needs to be pulled, but I think when we set a public hearing for April 23rd to establish driving range fees,
you know, is it going to be encompassing of all of the work that's been put into it? I want to make sure that we don't set a fee too low to not kind of compensate for all the money that, I mean, is the time frame going to jive, I guess? Is it going to coincide with all the work being done? Probably not.
I think the work will be
Guessing.
done, and we'll be waiting on the, the public hearing process.
Okay, all right. Okay, thank you.
Yes. Okay, so council, let me get at this correctly. So we're pulling I, J, K, and N.
Yes.
Okay.
Mayor,
Councilman Brennan?
make a motion to approve the consent agenda, polling items I, J, K, and N.
Second. It's been motioned and second. I'll call, any further discussion? I'll call for the question. Councilman Brennan?
Aye.
Councilwoman Garvey?
Aye.
Councilwoman Workla?
Aye.
Councilman Harjo?
Aye.
Okay. We'll run down to old business action item, deliberation decision on planning zoning's recommendation finding of facts to amend the existing conditional use permit to off-premise signs located at 404 North Main Street with conditions requested by Ron Cox. Items continued from the March 12th, 2024 meeting. Council, what do you want to do?
Mayor.
Councilwoman Workla?
I asked to table this because legal, you said you had to look into some things, correct? And I just wanted to see what you found out.
Tabling which one?
It's the Ron Cox, sign.
Oh, I've looked at it.
Okay.
The only question I had was the distinction between off-premise, on-premise.
Okay.
And the Supreme Court, U.S. Supreme Court, in Austin v. Reagan advertising something, discerned that I was worried whether, the question I had in my mind was, in order to know the difference between an off-site and an on-site sign is by virtue of the message within it. And therefore, any ordinance that regulates it, would that then be a content-based regulation, which would then subject it to strict scrutiny analysis? So, I'm sorry, I'm a lawyer, so I get paid by the word or something. But anyway, you can cities can regulate speech, like on signs, by doing what's called time, place, and manner restrictions. So you can't have it on during these times of the day, or you can't have it over here, or it has to be a certain size. It can't be the billboard, whatever. But once you start analyzing the message that's within it, that's First Amendment. And so then I was concerned about that issue, and that's why we tabled it last time on that issue alone. Now I know, I suspected this, but Austin v. Reagan advertising said that it is not a content-based regulation when you discern between off-site and on-site premises signs. So that issue's off the table, legally.
Okay. Do you find there's any violations to any ordinances in regards to that sign being present? I'm just saying, are we, if...
Yeah, I mean, whatever the comment was, it has been operating illegally at present, but, that's the basis to get the CUP, I suppose.
Mayor?
Councilman Brennan?
I've got a lot of comments here. Ron, are you interested in come forward?
Just didn't know if you wanted to.
I'm not sure where to start, but I don't want you to take my comments as a fight. I'm not trying to fight with you at all, but I do have concerns, as I did the last time. I obtained a copy of your email that you sent out to your patrons asking for support to the city council. And so I know that's why some of your supporters are here today. Not only, I don't only want to talk about the ordinances that we have, but also our comprehensive plan and the 2018 master downtown plan that we have adopted as well, that no one has talked about yet. And so with that, sorry, I've got a lot of documents here, but the comments that you make to the council about what a window is, and if your sign fills the entire window, is it really a window?
Well, because the legal definition of a window is an opening in a building that allows a view and light to enter the building. And so if you fill in the window with a sign and wall it up behind the sign, then it's not a window anymore. It's a sign that's built into a wall.
I suppose that's a question for our legal counsel probably. I feel like that's kind of just a way of getting around our ordinance about filling it up. And if we're gonna go down that road, then I guess you'd probably need a building permit for construction as to, you know, taking out the window and making it a wall sign there.
And in regards to the permits and not following the permits, before purchasing the sign, I did reach out to the correct department and was told that I did not need a permit.
Who was that you spoke with?
I don't know which one of the two. It was either Brenda or Chris, who was in that department at the time. I was told that I didn't need a permit because it was going to be an internal sign, and there was a misunderstanding of the fact that there would be off-premise signage on this sign, and so there was a misunderstanding. I was like, okay, we don't need a permit, so I purchased a sign and installed it and went ahead and got businesses to advertise on it. Then it was determined that I did need the permit, so we started the process right away. And I was also informed that while going through this process, I could continue to leave the businesses on the sign, and so that's why they are.
Who gave that permission?
I don't want to throw people under the bus there.
Well, I guess the point I'm making is if there's an authorization to violate city ordinance, it probably has to come from the city council.
Okay,
right?
well,
and we did not expressly tell you to turn it off.
Right.
On
And
that
so,
regard,
right, there was never any. Nobody told me that I needed to turn the sign off or stop advertising, and so that's, in regards to the concerns that have been brought up, that's the answer to that. That's why they're still there.
Sure.
In regards to like all the concerns that were brought up and my answers to those, I mean, my point is I want to do things correctly. I'm not trying to skirt the system or anything like that. If there's something that needs to be done for me to continue to do what I'm doing, I'll do what it needs to be done. It was brought up that the light intensity was, in opinion, was that it was brighter than the city sign. So I got a light meter and I checked, and it was slightly brighter. It was not as bright as other digital signs that were in place at the time. That has been adjusted, and I don't know if it's been taken notice that the light level was reduced, but the light level has been reduced so that it is less than the city sign.
Sure. You made comments in your, I think it was the letter to us, maybe it was one of the documents you attached to the council. You talk about the vision triangle, and I don't think there's a vision triangle issue at all on yours, but I do want to defend the city a little bit in that nature, is that the position of our sign, if you think of the nature of a one-way street, there's no value of a vision triangle obstruction there. If you're coming up over Jackson, like you've crossed the railroad tracks and you're sitting there, you're not looking right to clear traffic, right? That's a one-way.
Which I did not say that, I mean, according to the Google measurements that I did, you're within the vision triangle as well. I was just saying that yours is closer to the vision triangle than mine, which would mean that it's closer to the intersection than mine, and mine would be less of a distraction to the intersection.
As far as ours being closer, you're 100% right. It is closer. I don't think the vision triangle truly is applicable there, because no one looks that direction to cross the street from any way that you're traveling legally down the roadway.
Yeah, I'm just.
If you're going the wrong way down one way, then that's a whole other issue.
Okay. And you had brought up the Gateway Corridor, which, in looking into that, the Gateway Corridor does not apply to the C2 business area.
You're right.
And so that would mean that I'm not in the Gateway Corridor.
Okay.
Which, and then everything that I found about the Gateway Corridor was only applying to landscaping issues that there are landscaping regulations that applied to that.
Okay. And you said it a couple different ways in all your different attachments you said, but I'll read one of them here, which says that by not approving the digital sign, it would just be hurting those that are trying to build a business or do business in Mountain Home. And I feel like I probably need to choose my words carefully here, but it is not the city's responsibility to approve your sign to make money to help everybody else advertise their private business.
Okay, well, but what I'm saying by that is that, I can gain the permit for that sign and be able to continue to advertise my business once I'm located there. Or I can put up just messages that don't have anything to do with businesses. I mean, I can put up, other messages.
Merry Christmas.
Right,
Sure.
like that, for instance, or, Daniel Brennan's bald, something like that. I can put whatever I want to put up.
Balding,
whatever. I'm just saying, I can put up any message I want to put up there, as long as it's not pertaining to businesses. And so, and I can get the permits to have that sign there. So the sign necessarily isn't going to go away by not approving the conditional use permit to allow for off-premise signs. You are not allowing businesses to advertise on that sign. And that and I would like to take a moment to just say, I never said that there are not other advertising avenues for businesses, and this is the only way that they can advertise their business. I mean, I'd like to point out, the newspaper does promote businesses and is a great place to advertise. There are many other locations, online, social media, things like that. Any points of limited advertising opportunities that I have said was to do with off-premise signage, not attacking any other advertising avenues. But, I do feel that there are limited opportunities for businesses to advertise off-premise.
Is it the city's responsibility to provide private business advertising?
Well, I would say that it would be the city's responsibility to do what's best for the citizens of Mountain Home, and
as a whole.
As a whole, right?
Sure.
Exactly. And I would say that it's the city's interest to help those people who are trying to do business in Mountain Home to be able to be successful in what they're attempting to do. And
okay, can I transition to the 2020 comprehensive plan? I've got it in front of me. I don't have the 2018 master downtown plan in front of me, but this is where I'm gonna call out the city and say that we need to do better, right? As city leadership. Under community design, I'll start at page 58, 8.14, goal number 9, talks about, let me make sure I got the right one here. The city shall continue to work on the revitalization of the downtown corridor, recreating a vibrant, pedestrian-friendly environment that'll draw local patronage and economic development. Let's see here. There's a whole lot of sections in here. I'm just trying to draw out some of the big points, but it's worth a read. The city should improve the visual quality of existing commercial corridors along major thoroughfares by requiring landscaping, right-of-way treatments, and visual screening of obtrusive uses. And embrace and support a Main Street theme to further the goals of retaining small-town character that residents have stated as their lead desire to the project. Let me, goal number 8.9, which is on page 55. This is creating a clear and perceptible community identity that sets the benchmark for all development and redevelopment, resulting in a unified and cohesive community design. I didn't write down my specific bullet here. Anyways, establish and maintain development patterns and design criteria in keeping with the small town and rural transitional identity of Mountain Home. Determine and standardize public design elements meant to enhance and reinforce the city's identity and sense of place. It goes on. 8.8, goal number 3. You're probably catching a theme here, but designate and design entryway and gateway points into Mountain Home, providing visual cues to the character and identity of the community. This talks about updating ordinances to establish a scenic corridor overlay, and this is kind of a big one for me because this is what's going to be wrapped up in the master downtown plan. Anyway, sorry. Update ordinances to establish a scenic corridor overlay in accordance with city goals and objectives, which prohibit or regulates any new billboards or digital billboards within the scenic corridor. And then the final one is, let's see, 8.7, page 54. You can see I'm going backwards on this thing. Protect and enrich Mountain Home's small town character and community lifestyle through updates and additions to policy, code, and practice. As far as the master downtown plan, I don't have the plan in front of me, so I can't quote it right now, but what I'm referencing is the section in there about streetscapes and land usage. The streetscapes recommends signage ordinance to protect the image and impression of the downtown core. Page 49 on our downtown master plan, the citizens, when they were asked in the creation of this, they put the highest priority on signage standards for our city. And so the last one, land use, it talks about we need to create signage ordinances to go with the community design standards in our comprehensive plan. Now, the comprehensive plan has been updated since the master downtown plan was put in place, but we have not, as a city, gotten to those yet, as far as updating those small town integrated feel that the citizens put as a top priority. And so I guess what I'm saying is I think the sign and any other signs like it right now need to be put on hold, because I think the city needs to get off our butts to do what we said we were going to do in our comprehensive plan. And by allowing a conditional use that may be detrimental to that plan as we see it, and it might not be, but I think it's important for us to work together with the citizens like we've already done to create these plans and create those ordinances or those downtown overlays or whatever you want to call them. So,
okay, so if I'm understanding you correctly, you're saying that a digital sign downtown would be an eyesore?
I'm saying I don't know which way the rest of the city council may want to go. I'm saying I think it's more important for us to get together and make that determination as a body.
Well, when you approved the current digital sign located at Jackson Street, I mean, wasn't that the decision that a digital sign is not an eyesore and is a good part of the downtown area?
So the city council at that time took a lot of time to talk about that digital board, right? And if you, I'm sure you read all the ordinances, you referenced as many as you could find.
Right, so you've already done the work to determine that a digital sign is...
there are very different standards in ordinance for a public sign in which is designed to inform the citizens of public events like city council meetings or a Parks and Recreation program, something that's open to the entire community. Some may be at cost, some may not be at cost, but they're open to everybody. And so, per the ordinance, those things are two very entirely different things.
Okay.
Anybody else?
Council?
Mayor?
Councilman Harjo?
I would mirror the last portion of that statement for sure. The governmental signs and public signs are governed differently by our ordinances than for-profit private signs. They're distinctly different elements. While form factorly they appear the same, their purpose is significantly different, and that's why they are governed differently. So I want to make sure that that part is understood amongst council. Like, we can read through the ordinances if we need to, but they're handled distinctly different in ordinance.
Okay, so, just one point. I just think that one sign that is able to advertise multiple businesses would be better than multiple signs. And so I just think it's a good idea to have one sign that's going through businesses instead of having multiple off-premise signs. And I just think that helps out.
What if the people of the community think that no additional signs are better than one?
Well, there was notifications of a public hearing about this sign, and nobody showed up to oppose it.
Right, yeah, you're right. I can tell you that we hardly ever get any kind of feedback from those.
So I'm just saying, like, so it can only be assumed that it wasn't, that nobody had objections to the sign.
So Ron, have you already got your permit from ITD?
I can't get the permit from ITD until the city approves it. They won't even allow me to apply for it, because if you won't approve it, then they don't need to approve it. But I have talked to ITD, and they said that they'd have no problem, just like they would have no problem with your sign.
And you can correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't, you can only have one digital reader sign every 1,000 feet? So you got Frankie's, you got the cities. So I'm just these are questions I'm asking.
I'm not sure on that regulation. I just know that I've reached out to ITD and that there wouldn't be a problem, but that they, just like the conditional use permit that I did before, I did get ITD's approval on, and first I had to get city council's approval before I could go to ITD and get their approval. Because I have to submit your approval to ITD.
Council, what do you want to do?
Mayor?
Councilman Brennan.
I'm going to make a motion based on the comments that I made. I don't think we're ready yet. I'm going to make a motion to deny planning and zoning's recommendation and findings of facts to amend the conditional use permit.
Your second.
Mayor?
Councilman Harjo.
Brenda, if you can help us on the timeline and circulation of events, if this motion were to go through, what the next step the applicant would have in a time period to either reapply. Is there a time period that must elapse before reapplying? What are the steps?
Upon denial, there is a year, and he could not reapply for a year.
Now, would I be able to appeal?
This is the board right now.
Well, I just mean like if you deny me, is there an appeal process that I can get legal counsel and appeal that decision?
You could always get legal counsel, right, Paul?
Yeah.
So here's the thing. There's a motion. Is there a, I guess the question, obviously, if this council denies it, then he has to wait a year. Is there a workaround and put it off so you guys do your working group and figure out what you guys want to do? But that's just my 2 cents. But here we go for Councilwoman Workla.
Yeah, so let me just common sense the heck out of this. All right, so there's no violation ordinance. He's not doing anything wrong by having that sign up there, having multiple people advertise on it.
No.
The location, the distance from other light up signs, we're good on.
No, we're not.
No, we're not, okay.
It's in violation of the ordinance right now because it's being operated without a conditional use.
Oh, I'm sorry, okay, then I misunderstood that.
Respect whoever the staff member, your councilman, mind you, I'm the prosecutor, so, I mean, I'm not doing anything until this plays itself out.
Okay, so I'm just,
But, Councilman Brennan was 100% accurate.
Okay.
A staff member can't waive a code requirement that has to occur in a public meeting, a noticed public meeting, decided by you guys. So-
okay, so we are in violation, or I mean, it would be in violation if we approved it in a sense.
Pardon me?
I'm so sorry.
No, the only reason it's in violation at the moment, that I'm aware of, I haven't looked into every last aspect
Sure.
of the sign. There could be other things out there that I just haven't taken a look at. The 50% of the window is one of them that enters my mind. But the only reason in my mind right now that it's in violation is because he doesn't have the permit. Now, he could be advertising his own business on it, as he said, and it wouldn't be in violation of that provision.
Right, so if we approve it, then you can get the permit, and then you won't be in violation, and everything's copacetic.
Right.
Okay, and so I guess I'm just trying to gather here, and then
So,
from Daniel, hang on, my brain will lose it.
Okay.
So then Councilman Brennan, was saying, on the city side, I guess we don't have our act together on like, community design standards, right? They're kind of ambiguous. And so you're kind of like, we need to get our act together and really define that, moving forward. Yeah, I mean, I don't, personally, I don't want to hinder or punish or whatever you, because we don't have our act together. Government never has their act together. I'm sorry. So, if we approve, you get the permit from ITD, there's no violations, it brings small business able to advertise, we're building the community. I am going to make a motion. Oh, shoot, I can't do that, yeah, can I?
So there's a motion on the floor to deny the permit.
Mayor, can I amend my motion?
Absolutely.
I think a fair meet in the middle for what I just said, I think would be a tabling of this for 6 months so that the city council can get together and talk about the community design standards that are outlined in our comprehensive plan and the 2018 downtown master plan, and come up with, it directs us to do that, right? And it directed us to do it a long time ago, and it didn't get done. So my amended motion is just to table it for 6 months so we can try to fulfill our duties.
Mayor?
And beyond my motion, but once it's allowed, it's a grandfathered issue. We can't take it back anymore.
So
there's a motion on the table. And hang on one sec, Beck, is there a second? Okay.
That's going to be my point here, Mayor, is that last
Go
2
ahead,
weeks ago, you
Councilwoman
killed my
Darby.
motion. You killed my motion real quick, but you're not killing Councilman Brennan's motion real quick for lack of second. So, anyway, Mayor, my question is, I'm not understanding what the true issue of this particular sign is when it's almost identical to the city's sign. I'm not following what the problem is. It just seems like there's maybe a little bit of a personal problem. I'm not understanding. And maybe Councilman Brennan, maybe you can expand on this. The other thing that I would like to just quickly add is that tabling it for 6 months is all fine and dandy, but, you know, I've been on council for 2 years now. You've been on council for almost 6-7 years. And I can tell you that we probably won't get this fixed in 6 months because we don't get anything fixed quickly. So why hinder, why harm one business that just wants to advertise and put up a sign that's not going to go away? Even if we don't like, or you don't like that he's going to advertise, the sign's not going away. He's not doing anything wrong.
The conditional permit is not for the sign.
Ron, you gotta,
Sorry.
she's got the.
Sorry.
I'm done.
I'm sorry.
Mayor.
So,
It's okay, Ron.
can I say something now?
Hang on one second, sir.
Okay.
Councilman Harjo.
Procedurally, Paul, by the nature of conditional use permits, they are revocable. If we were to approve this, and in the process of us honing our ordinances as prescribed by now multiple documents, the comp plan, the downtown plan, and we find that a particular type of signage is not in the best interest to have in our downtown corridor, is that conditional use permit revocable after we were to enact anything that states that this is not within what the scope of beautification, advertisement, and so on?
So, I'm going to, well, the devil's in the details. So that's covered by, I was just reading it. Actually, let me back up and say something first. A couple times the word fix has been thrown around. The ordinances and the policies and the comprehensive plan provisions and downtown corridor plans and anything else you could throw at the wall and sticks are governed in place at the time of application. So if you decided you were going to change some down to, like fix is the word I'm worried about. If it's, Councilman Brennan phrased that these are all things that are on the books right now, I think we need to have a better understanding of what the current documents say in guiding the decision on this, hence why he did the motion to table. That I'm fine with. What I'm not fine with is then somebody, I don't remember who, threw around the word fix, saying, well, we need to fix these things. Well, no, that would not impact this application, because whatever we have on the books now at the time of application is what governs his application. Now, for the next one that comes down the pike, you could decide you want to have a different policy or something like that and create a different document. But all these documents are in effect now. If you don't know them, or it's not in the forefront of your mind, and you want to look at it more, fine, if you wanted to table on that basis so that you make an educated decision, that I'm fine with. Back to your question, that's with the horse in front of that cart.
Mm-hmm.
If you decide and then say you want to revoke it later because now that we've read it, we realize that the cart is in front of that horse and you can't push it, then I would kind of say that's the bed you made, and you're governed by it. Because again, now to answer your question, 913.13, basically the city shall have authority to revoke any sign permit which has been granted when it has been determined that the sign authorized by the permit has been constructed or is being maintained in violation of the chapter. So and then back to your question, is it in violation right now? I was like, well,
I see what you're saying.
yeah. So if it is not otherwise in violation of the ordinances that are on the books today, you may not revoke it later.
Understood.
So, really quick, there's a motion, do I hear a second? Okay, hearing none, motion dies.
Mayor,
Councilman Harjo.
follow up. Conditional use permit, revocable. We do not change any ordinance to reflect any aspect of sign permit. But as the city progresses and defines further, there are aspects of the existing sign chart that I myself would question the application of. For instance, C2, under 913.5, fascia sign. Is that what this would fall under? Question number one. Question number two, the maximum area of signage allowed is 8% of the building face, with the qualifier on the street front. What qualifies the street front in this application? Third question, animated not revolving column, 35% of the sign area. What's defined as the sign area in this case? Are we defining this particular sign as the sign area, or are we taking the entirety of now what would be the amended CUP as 2 banner signs that are 8 foot by 14 foot, plus this 3 foot by 10 foot as the total sign area. So my question exists that if we were to approve the conditional use permit today, and then barring any change to ordinance, and we decide that the application of that permit does not meet these, we can revoke that permit at that point.
Again, devil in the details, but I would say no. And here's why. So, for at least 70, 80 years in Idaho, quite a bit longer in the rest of the country, planning and zoning commissions and city councils in the arena of land use are given due deference for the interpretation of their own ordinances and the application thereof. And no court can second guess the legislative acumen of the legislative officials because they blue pen it differently or they think it's different. The only thing that the judge can do later is determine whether your interpretation of your own ordinance was arbitrary and capricious. And so if you approve it today, and you're approving it based upon the definitions that are in place in the statutes right now, or excuse me, ordinances right now, you have rendered your interpretation of your code. And if you disagree with your own interpretation of your own code at a later time, or if it's a different legislative body, let's say because different elected officials might view it differently, then that has already, that has been a property right conveyed, and it cannot be revoked unless clearly it violates the plain statutory text of your ordinances as it exists today.
Understood. Thank you. Last question. Looking at the Givens Pursley
law books.
looking at the Givens Pursley handbook that you gave me.
I can give it to you. I guess it serves me right. Good thing I have it memorized.
A table of this topic for 6 months to establish something else is seemingly has already been dealt with in the land use perspective of like abnormal delay of application. If we table this for a period of time and then we change our ordinances and what was in theory approvable at one point and we change our ordinance before that specific time is elapsed and now that application is not within the bounds of our ordinance. If we go change the ordinance now while the application is tabled for 6 months, where does that leave us in terms of land use liability?
So, 2 answers to that one. There's a pretty famous case out of Santa Monica, California, the Ninth Circuit, which is federal court, which governs, we're in the Ninth Circuit. The Santa Monica case was like 2006, I think, which basically says that if you continually delay or table something, and when you start talking about 6 months after it's already been through the process, then that starts to raise questions of whether somebody is denied due process for the timely resolution of it. So I'm kind of not in favor of the 6 months thing. If you have a legitimate reason why 6 months is necessary, so be it. One of the reasons that it would not be necessary, i.e. an illegitimate basis, is because you're going to change your ordinances, or as the words you used a few moments ago is further define. Further define would not have any, so again, the ordinances that are at play for this land use application are at the time of application, which was months ago. Where we're at today, it's those same ordinances that, so quote, there's no going to be further defining in the next 6 months that would impact his application. The only thing that, and again, I'm actually in support of the table legally, only because you just threw, you know, the 8% and the ordinances that are in place right now. Do you all have a firm grasp of that? And then also, I mean, while you guys were talking, I'm paging through this sign ordinance, which, again, I don't think I need your fiber presentation anymore, because this will put me to sleep immediately. It's that boring. But it's detailed about specific findings that you guys need to make. Like, you may not grant this conditional use permit unless you can make an affirmative finding that the following conditions have been met. And so you gotta, and he did actually, in your email or letter, whatever, you did a pretty good job of analyzing them all. He actually, I was like reading it going, by itemizing them all out. I mean, you do have to make all those affirmative findings. If you guys aren't familiar enough with your ordinance to go through as you're doing right now, each of those, then you probably need to get your mind wrapped around it, that whole ordinance, and I mean, print it out. I mean, again, it started to give me a headache, but it's important to do that. And so if you wanted to do it, again, I don't think it takes 6 months to read our own ordinances.
So, Mayor,
So Councilwoman Whipple.
I know that he has a firm grasp on it, because this man gets in the weeds on everything. Do you think what you see in front of you, there's any type of issue as we stand currently?
Mayor. Councilman Harjo? I think there is enough gray area in our ordinance that we are not well defined enough that there's anything blatantly obvious that prohibits this sign. Is it in an opinion that the process was not followed? Yes. Is it my opinion that there are aspects of the sign, the 3 questions that I just raised in particular to that aspect of the C2 sign chart, that are questionable in its application to this? Yes, but that also falls to us. If we do not foresee this coming, Paul has stated to us that we must decide based on the factors at the time of application. I have no personal opinion about the sign itself. It is the process of, did we follow the process, and does this meet as we have prescribed? And there's, outside of the conditional use aspect and outside of the fact that the sign is present and lit prior to a permit, I struggle to find any slam dunk thing that prevents this sign. What I do find is if this sign is in place, there are other factors that ITD prescribes, 1,000 feet between digital signs. There are factors in sign code that may prevent the next one, and there are factors with ITD that may prevent the next one, but I can't find anything that is a hard no, we cannot do this one because this particular citation. We have the generality of the comprehensive plan, which I know we must keep in our forefront of our mind, but processed procedurally and on paper, I can't find anything that expressly prevents it.
Mayor,
Councilwoman Whipple.
I would like to make a motion to approve Planning and Zoning Commission recommendation and finding facts to amend an existing conditional use permit for an off-premises sign located at 404 North Main Street with conditions requested by Ron Cox.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Councilman Brennan.
Paul, in the language you're using, and a little bit of Councilman Harjo, you've used strictly just ordinances in your discussion towards us. Does that also account for our comprehensive plan and the 2018 Master Downtown Plan as a guiding doctrine for us?
Yes, they are. So, okay, an ordinance is law. A comprehensive plan is a guidance document, and so is and the downtown corridor plan is kind of a hybrid between the two. But they all stand by the same principle that I said, that they are governed at the time of application.
Sure. And I guess I would point out that the most specific document is the master downtown plan, and our Planning and Zoning Commission did not even reference that document as part of their decision. It's not listed in their decision or recommendation whatsoever at all.
So there's a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Mayor.
Councilman Harjo.
Councilwoman Workla, would you be amenable to amending your motion to include upon approval of ITD's approval of their application? If ITD does not approve of this sign, that we revoke the conditional use permit.
Mayor,
Councilwoman Workla.
absolutely.
That was a given anyways.
Yeah, okay. Do I need to repeat that, though?
No.
Okay.
Wait, I might not second it.
Yeah.
What is it?
Oh.
Hold on, yes, you do need to repeat that, please.
So it was, he wants her to say, will approve approve the sign pending ITD's approval. Right?
Yes, sir, which is the general process, right?
Right.
Mayor.
Becky, that's not a big deal because it's a condition precedent to having a.
Yeah,
sign anyway.
I was gonna say, if I understand correctly, it doesn't matter anyway. If ITD doesn't approve it, then it's not approved. Okay, second, fine.
So it's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. Councilwoman Workla.
Aye.
Councilwoman Garvey.
Aye.
Councilman Harjo.
Aye.
Councilman Brennan.
Couple comments before I make my vote is I'm going to just say that I'm disappointed that the accusation was made that this is a personal thing. Ron, I don't have anything business dealings with you ever. I don't know why it would be personal, and it is not. And I'm disappointed that our downtown plan has not even been really reviewed by anyone. So I'm going to vote nay.
Okay. Thanks, Ron.
Thank you.
Going down to action item 2, deliberation decision regarding purchasing policy edits. Councilman, what do you guys want to do?
Oh my gosh, okay. Mayor?
Councilwoman Workla.
I think this is me? Okay, so if we want to get out our purchasing policy, on page, I guess page 5. I just want to reiterate it out loud for the record, and thank you. Yeah, it looks great. So, elected official acting as a department head. Any elected official acting in a department head capacity with oversight of an allocated budget must have council approval for purchases over $5,000. Very good. Okay. That's all I have.
So, council, what do you want to do? Councilman Brennan.
As I look at for the sake of my comments, I'm just going to combine stuff from 2 and 3, but on just because I don't want to approve one without having the conversation for the other really quick, so Councilwoman Workla, were you just referring to page 5, the red print?
Yes.
Okay. As far as the checklist goes, the red print that was added in there for repairs and maintenance, $5,000 and over, the bids and quotes required. The whole thing says not required under $50,000, but when applicable, obtain 2 written quotes. Did I miss that? What's the when applicable?
Mayor.
Go ahead.
So, Mayor, Councilwoman Workla's amendment was specific to the purchasing policy, and that's what got addressed. You, Councilman Brennan, made a statement that you wanted to abide by the purchasing policy based upon, if I can get this right, how it's printed with the fact that you've approved a budget and the department heads can go allocate and spend the funds as if you voted on them in the budget process. But you wanted, under the repair and maintenance, over $5,000, us department heads to seek additional quotes even though it wasn't required until we reached the threshold of over $50,000. So, it's not required that we do the 50,000. However, you wanted us to seek additional quotes, so that's why we wrote that in there. Because, and you did have the caveat of, I know not every time you could get 2 quotes because there may not be more than one vendor that could provide that.
Yeah.
Listen to it several times. Like it's, I think, I could tell you it's at the 58-minute mark. Like we need to go to it. Like I have it all wrote down.
Is it possible to just define that better in this little chart, that so you don't have to reference something else, but when applicable, obtain it? Anything over $5,000 that's not a budgeted item must have attempted written, must obtain written quotes. Am I way off from earlier?
I guess it's not my decision. I guess that the majority of council want it to say that we need to get the 2 quotes. However, state purchasing guidelines and statute don't require us to. However, we're going above and beyond. I don't know how to address that other than it's saying, I could put a little asterisk at the bottom and say, city council would like you to get 2 quotes.
If possible, because
If
sometimes
possible.
you go out for them and you get crickets.
Yeah, but you're at least asking.
Right.
Right? If there's evidence in email that you've sent to a contractor saying, hey, what price will you charge for this? And they don't answer you, you've done your due diligence, and that's my thought, right? And so I think it's always possible to send, I'm not a department head who does that stuff, but I think it would always be possible to try to reach out to somebody to say, what would you charge us for this work?
Hang on a second. Sorry, Tiff. Go ahead.
Sorry. I can speak for myself and several others. Sorry, guys. But we do go seek more than one typically. And a lot of the times, yes, one vendor does our work, but that one vendor is responsive and usually is the one with the less price to the city of Mountain Home.
Right.
So, and a lot of times we don't hear back. You know, I could tell you we're sending lots of emails to get quotes and we don't hear things back.
Councilwoman Workla?
Are you just asking for it to be spelled out a little bit more specific in here instead of just having this little red mark checklist so that it's just it's more defined?
Yeah.
Yeah. I see what you're
I'm
saying.
not exactly sure how I'm correlating it to the policy itself and which section there, but.
Mayor.
Councilman Harjo? Oh, sorry. Did you say?
Yes.
Okay, sorry.
Perhaps our red line language there on the purchasing checklist, instead of when applicable, reflects attempt to obtain.
Yeah.
Just like a one-word swap, ensuring that we take the effort and make the attempt. I have talked to several budget keepers that sit in this room. They said, we tried going out for something and we didn't get anything back. Or we only got one back. I think switching out to, instead of but when applicable, attempt to obtain would be.
I'm fine with that. And I would prefer, right, that it be via email so that there's a record of it. And you send one, you get no response. When the job's ultimately done, you staple that email to the receipt and call it good. I think that's a good, being clear with ourselves and with the citizens on the purchase.
Right. No, I don't disagree, Council.
If you don't get an answer, you don't get it, as long as you're sending it to the right email address, right, then I think I'd like to go a little above and beyond is what I'm saying, you know?
Yep. Completely agree.
Mayor.
Councilman Harjo.
I'll make a motion to approve the purchasing policy edits.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. Councilwoman Garvey?
Aye.
Councilman Harjo?
Aye.
Councilwoman Workla?
Aye.
Councilman Brennan?
Aye.
All right. Let's run down to action item number 3, deliberation decision regarding purchase checklist edits. And that was obviously the one that you're wanting to do too.
Yeah.
So,
Mayor.
Councilman Brennan?
Can you just write that out so we can say it on the record what it is, or would you prefer to do the little asterisk that says the?
No, I can write it just like that. So it'll be under repair maintenance 5,000 and over, not required under 50,000, attempt to obtain two written quotes, right?
Perfect.
Is that what we asked?
Is that, I guess, I don't like where it says not required and then attempt, but if we're, I trust you, if we're all on the same page, then.
Well, I can word it first. Sorry, I interrupted.
Then there's, you know what I mean? Not required and attempt doesn't mean the same thing to me.
So I can say attempt to obtain two written quotes.
I think you just leave it as attempt. You could take out the not required, because we all,
Yeah.
you could put the not required as an asterisk, but just put in there for, just try to obtain two quotes. That makes it simple.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Better.
Does that make sense, guys?
Yeah.
Okay.
Is that simple?
So we got a motion?
Go
Mayor, Councilman Harjo?
I'll make a motion to approve the purchasing checklist edits.
Second.
It's been motioned and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. Councilwoman Workla?
Hey.
Councilman Harjo?
Aye.
Councilman Brennan?
Aye.
Councilwoman Garvey?
Aye.
All right. Hey, really quick, before we get into new business, I forgot when I was out in the very beginning, I want to send a special shout out to American Heritage Girls, who cleaned up a ton of trash along the bike path through Canyon Creek this past weekend. And I'll give this to Betsy to showcase, but it was pretty awesome. They killed it. So I'll send this out, and they picked up a lot of garbage. So we got to thank them, and just in case I wasn't here for the end. So I just wanted to get that I did say kudos to them. Good job. Forgot to do it at the beginning, Mayor. All right, new business. Items removed from consent agenda. We're going to start out with I, and I'm going to let Councilman Brennan have that one.
Thanks. Council, I had a discussion with Public Works Director, Mr. Curtis, and I just naturally have my own cautionary flag come up because this was a budgeted item in this year's budget. There's a skid steer available now. I don't know how far back ordered they are, if one won't be available in 6 months from now. But I tend to be the guy that sticks pretty close to the approved budget, because we don't have endless amounts of money to throw around. As far as the next one, which we're not there yet, but that's been a lease purchase item basically anyways, and as I see it, we're ending the lease and taking possession of it with a big payment at the end. Is that right?
So the plan, sorry, Mayor, Council, the plan that was set up by my predecessor was that we would take this 5-year lease, which is the 2019 skid steer, we would turn it in, and then we would get a new skid steer this 2024. My goal was which I outlined in the letter I sent, my goal is to change that plan, purchase the skid steer that we currently have, and because of the availability of a skid steer in Boise right now, purchase that one. And I'm basing some of that decision on the fact that, we've been waiting on a new street sweeper for a very long time. I've spoken to one of the vendors that provides vac trucks, because we're going to need a new vac truck in Public Works eventually. We're a year to a year and a half out for that chassis. So in my brain, the fact that there's a skid steer available, we do have a need, we do have the money in the budget, it seems like a logical step for the city to get ahead of it and purchase both. The plan that was in place was turn one in, get a new one. So we would have one.
And I think we told, and correct me if I'm wrong, Chris, that you want to own the equipment, right? No more leases?
Depending, not across the board, depending on what the type of equipment is and how rough it's used.
Oh, okay.
The big loader, everyone's like, yeah, we've treated it pretty easy, it's not across the board.
Okay.
But
I think that's why we were trying to think about, do you want to own it or do you want to lease them? So that's why I was like, oh, maybe just bring it to the council, we don't know.
Sure. And can I continue?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Actually, I kind of forgot where I was going with that. Chris, the new one with the dollar amount associated with it, is there anything in your budget this year that you can give up of equal value that So we're not just expending an extra $100,000 on a piece of equipment.
That was not my intentions, Councilman. My intentions was to take some of our capital reserve. I sat down with Paula and use that reserve that we do have for issues like this and use that. I wasn't going to give anything out.
And is there any way to, that's probably a dumb question, any way to obtain ownership or lease of that? I don't want to get into another lease to just buy it out next year if we approve it in the budget, so they won't hold it for you with a, that's us guaranteeing you the purchase then anyway, so that's dumb.
They're not in the business of holding. They're going
Yeah.
to sell it to the next person
Right.
in line.
I understand.
Mayor.
Councilwoman Workla?
I guess I want to know, are we going to beat the heck out of it? Because if we're going to beat the heck out of it, maybe we should lease it.
So, Mayor, Council, what I would say is that we've had one for 5 years. The reason I want to buy it is because it is still in excellent working condition. And we've already invested 52,000 into this. So we're not destroying them. And I would use that one as an example to say, no, we're not beating the heck out of them to where they're non-usable.
Mayor.
Councilman Harjo?
Chris, Jean, is there any advantage of the purchase versus lease? In that, are we afforded a different service level with either opportunity? Are we offered a better longevity in terms of if we use the 2024 under the purchase agreement and say it breaks and it's something we cannot fix in-house? Is there an advantage over a purchase or a lease in that sense? Do they offer us more service?
Yeah, the leases cover everything. So when we purchase, we basically move that money back into my maintenance line at some point. Maybe it's not this year, might be next year, might be the year after. So I'm going to sense that that's the big deal. I think that's why they went with lease at a time point, but we're trying to fit whatever need is out there, But that's where it's going to start showing back up, is in our maintenance line at some point.
Follow-up question. You run the maintenance department. Much like the modern era of cars and trucks, equipment gets more and more technologically based. If we purchase this and have a downage for something that we cannot repair, we're going to be going to service for that. If you use that same instance and it's under a lease format, are we obligated to pay for those repairs? Is that covered under the warranty of the lease? Just trying to get an understanding of the format of warranty and service for both, comparably. If it's advantageous to have it as a purchase, or if it's more advantageous by the service that we can get to have it as a lease.
So, Mayor, Council, here's what I would say. So, if we take it on a 5-year lease, for 5 years, work is going to be completed by the manufacturer, by the distributor, and it won't be at a cost to us. The benefit that I see is in 5 years, we re-enter a new lease, which again obligates us down the road for that $10,000 a year payment. If we purchase it now, we have that same warranty for 5 years. At the end of that 5 years, we don't need to re-enter a lease, and we take that $10,000 or whatever that lease looks like, and it rolls into the maintenance fund, and we maintain it anyway. So the money's present both directions. Do we get new equipment? Yes. But on the flip side, as equipment evolves, if you will, all of the accessory pieces that we have for this current skid steer and the one I want to purchase will have to be replaced along with them, because things always are changing. So my desire is the long-term usability of all of the equipment that we have.
Does that include then planning ahead for what maintenance to keep this, what's now new equipment or lightly used equipment, alive for longer? In terms of pivot pins go out, line boring, those is going to be something that I don't know if we can do that in-house. Do we have the CAT scanner to diagnose trouble codes in computer, like all the same questions that I think I'd be asking if we were gonna go buy 2024 Chevy pickups for a department or what have you, like where does it fall when we are the ones on the hook to fix it at some point? Are we prepped to do that? Or can we plan to do that?
Mayor, council, my plan is to plan for that, absolutely. We're coming into budget and CIP season, and like I said, I've taken over from a previous.
Sure.
So I'm changing the mindset, but I'm basing my mindset on what I understand is council's current policy of purchase. So if the council wants to go lease, we have a backup plan in place. We can go lease, but if we go lease, we have one skid steer, and then we'll, as the previous CIP states, we'll work at getting another one down the road in 5 years. So, does that answer your question, Councilman?
It does, it does. Would you, where would your thoughts be if we split this into two separate actions of buy the 2019 and then enter into a lease for the 2024?
That would not hurt my feelings at all, Councilman. But it would change the ultimate, sorry, I don't know if it would change the ultimate price, because the lease for the 2024 is a $10,000 annual payment based on the turning in, so it would go up, and I don't know that they gave us a number of how much.
Around 12, I think.
So we'd go from 10 to 12,000, but I am absolutely with you,
Mayor.
Councilman Workla?
And I just want, if you could please, can Councilman Harjo just clarify why you want to lease the 2024, like the exact reasons?
For
Councilman Harjo?
Sorry. For the advantage that the service level with Caterpillar for warranty, maintenance, repair occurs during the lease seems to be possibly, at least from what I can glean from here, that service level is a better return for us. While we're expending $10,000 a year, to reach that 110,000, it's going to take 11 years just through simple math. Obviously, like, I'm not a professional on the service life of these things. I mean, it's not like we ride these things terribly hard, but they're heavy equipment pieces, right? Things happen. I'd be hard pressed to not have at least the question of if we lease, are we in a long-term better position to have the service versus the purchase? I think that's where I would say we're this far down the road, and the original intent of previous council was to buy the 2019 in the lease to purchase format. Is that still the most advantageous for this, or is it for the 2024, or does the mindset of the service that we get out of leasing the 2024 trump what the cost of purchase and then the future maintenance of things that we don't have accounted for in manpower, tooling, facilities, what have you?
Right, Mayor,
Councilwoman Workla?
are you asking lease to purchase potential, or just lease until we decide to get a new one, or?
I think I would.
Councilman Harjo?
So sorry.
I think I would ask, in your experience, like the lease to purchase format, has that been advantageous over anything else? Yeah, straight up lease. We know that we need these pieces of equipment basically like in perpetuity. It's just like what new ones or what old ones we have, and we just need working things on the ground. Compound that with all the attachments need to fit, right? And we don't want to get ourselves in a position where, when we're buying a 2028, that, oh, well, none of the attachments we had for the 24 and the 19 fit anymore, kind of thing. I understand and respect that. If the service that we receive is better under the lease, I would prefer to go that route for the new one. If it is not considerably better, and we can plan for the manpower and the tooling to service these towards the end of their service life, great too. Really deferring to your opinions. You guys are the ones using them and paying for them out of the budgets,
Real quick, can we let the record reflect that the mayor stepped out of the meeting for a short time?
Thank you.
I'll go off my 10 years of running the department and the maintenance department as well. The lease has been the most manageable, typically, because I feel it doesn't put the mayor and the council under stress as far as you set a budget for a number, that number will be met. That's a guarantee. When we go out and we do purchase something, that's a number I don't know. Because when something breaks, that's at that point, that's when I find out. There was a time when, if I had any knowledge of watching a statistic, since COVID, that number has kind of is out there. I really don't know. So it's harder for me to anticipate how much do I need in a maintenance line. That's where it makes it more difficult. So it puts me in a place where there's a possibility of me having to come back to you a month from now, even on something that's fairly new, and say, hey, I need $10,000 to transport this thing from here to Boise. I'm using arbitrary numbers, but to get it from here to there, I've never had to do that before. We don't have a truck that takes it there, and they won't work on it here. And then once they get there, they're going to assess it, and they're going to tell me it's $40,000 to change this piece out, and then I got to figure out where that money's going to come from. And I don't. That's why I stick with it. I mean, that's why I say leases. They're under Sourcewell, so they're at the lowest price. They can't be met at those prices in the private industry. If they could, everybody'd be on them. So that's the explanation I can give.
If I could just add, are you done?
Yes.
All right, okay. Was that rude? It's weird. He's gone, so I'm just talking.
Are you done? Like the invisible chair, like.
Where'd that guy go?
Sorry. I guess there's the nature of the interest price that we have to pay too, and I guess I'm just gonna say it's not about you having the equipment or not, right? Like if you've identified that you need it, like I trust you on that. But I'm a believer of our budget too. So it's switching from a lease to a purchase or a purchase to a lease doesn't fix that to me. It's still going outside of our plan to budget. Now, what's hitting hardest to me is we had that talk and Gene, you mentioned it, is the implements that attach to these skid steers and that they would match right now. And maybe the 2025 model doesn't match, or maybe it does. Do you know that answer?
Yeah, they're building them. We had a time frame when John Deere wasn't hooking up to our stuff, even though they thought it would. Since at that time they were getting with their engineers trying to figure out how to get them hooked up and stuff like that, and so I was to get without making it too long. We used the word proprietary. I didn't even know what the word meant, but I just kind of read into it that it probably meant that some of these things are, have to be one piece. Since then, I'm sure they've all I've asked them. I've had John Deere bid the same stuff, everything. So,
but right now you have a 2019 Caterpillar, and you're asking for a 2024 one that work on the same implements. And a 2025, 2026, do we know factually that those will fit?
Not until I get there, but I mean, that's where they tell us they will, all that stuff will fit, but I mean, really, honestly.
But there are models out there right now available from Caterpillar in the same catalog that the implements don't fit.
Council President? Thank you. So, with that being said, it's probably smart to go the lease option. So, I want to get this moving. All right, so I would like to make a motion to, hang on, before I make a motion. Are you prepared to give us information on the lease? Do you have any of that in front of you, or?
I have information on the lease if we trade in the 19. I do not have accurate numbers on if we purchase that one outright and enter into a lease solely for the 2024. But we know it's around $12,000 a year, but I don't have that extra because I haven't asked that question.
Okay.
Council President?
Go ahead.
Sorry, I don't know if the mayor's back in the room or not, so I apologize. I too echo your sentiment on sticking to the budget, because I believe just a couple months ago, we had this discussion of memoing and changing our budget. This is a very, very large purchase, and I feel like that this $110,000 purchase should be planned in a CIP and not just a, hey, there's one available. I understand the lack of having one available. However, I just don't want to set the precedent that we'll just change our budget whenever we feel necessary. So I'm not sure which direction on keeping it or trading it in, but I don't, buying another one is not, in my opinion, the best plan right now. We're right around budget talks pretty quick, so.
Council President?
Go ahead.
Do you need this? I mean, do you guys need both of these?
Yeah,
Like,
I
need
there's two different ones there too.
Uh-huh.
I feel like that maybe we're talking like I'm buying one. I mean, we were set up.
No, we got it right here.
Okay, I just
need to know, do you guys need the 2024 and the 2019 to get the job done today? You need both of them?
Council President,
Go ahead.
we are in a position now, as I stated in my letter, where one skid steer is dominated by the street department. If you've been out around
sure.
town, they're doing a lot of repair work on our streets because our streets are rough. With that, we do not always have the tool available for water to go out and replace services, and we do not have the, so
Yeah.
it is my opinion, yes, we do need both now. However, I will say, we're getting by with one. So if we want to continue to get by with one, we will do the best we can with what we have available.
Council President?
Go ahead.
I would like to make a motion to lease the 2024 Caterpillar for the Water and Wastewater Department.
Can I seek clarity?
Yes, please.
Just a lease and it's gone, or a lease purchase?
Oh my gosh.
Well,
Can we do lease to purchase later? I mean, no, it doesn't work that way? Or do you have to be, no? Oh,
Go ahead.
President. So typically, I would need to know.
Yes, I
because with CAT or Metro Quip, whoever you guys are working with, it would, if you buy with the intent to give it back at the end, then we're kind of set to some hours. But on the lease, the purchase at the end, we can finance through our Mountain West and run it. And it would have to come back, then those documents for approval at a later date.
That would be a balloon payment at the end, basically, for the purchase?
Not necessarily is it always a balloon, like, they're not always a balloon, no. Typically, the balloons run with the equipment company, is how a lot of those are ran. The large balloon payments. So I would just need that to be clear.
no, you're right.
So.
I'm gonna retract my motion. What do you guys think? And then I'll make a motion. Like, what do you guys think is best? I think we should lease it.
Okay, my thoughts are is that they have a 2019 that they say is in superb condition. Why would we believe that a 2024 in 5 years would not be in superb condition? I'm not a fan of leasing to just give it away. I know there's some value in that, I get it, but I feel like it tends to like throw extra money away that we don't need to. So it's up to you. I know where I'm going with this.
Council President?
Go ahead.
So I agree with you, because if we do it in that route where we lease it, keep it, we could always still sell it at the end of the 5 years if we decided we didn't want it.
Right.
Or we could purchase it. So it kind of it gives us a little bit more options versus just handing it back to them. Because we could always still sell it because it's still an asset and it's still going to be worth quite a bit of money.
Okay.
So I agree with that.
I think I'm ready. Council President, I'm gonna make a motion to lease to purchase the 2024 Caterpillar skid steer for the Water and Wastewater Department.
Okay. There's a motion. Any seconds?
I have a quick question.
Second.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay, so we do have a motion and a second, but any further discussion, Councilman Harjo?
that singular motion is to lease the 2024 Caterpillar, but leaves out the discussion of the 2019
That's
Caterpillar.
another item, though.
It's J.
That's J.
Okay. I just want to make sure that we're capturing that is specific to the 2024.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. A call for the question. Councilman Harjo.
Aye.
Councilwoman Workala.
Aye.
Councilwoman Garvey.
Aye.
Man, I tend to stick to my comments that I say. I'm gonna vote nay just because I believe in budgeted items and the importance for that. But I also know that I trust and I believe you guys that you need it, so I guess we'll go forward with the lease purchase option.
Okay, so next one.
All right, next item that was removed from the consent agenda was item J, which is approval of the Public Works Director request to purchase the 2019 Caterpillar skid steer that is currently a city-leased piece of equipment.
Council President,
Go ahead.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the Public Works Director request to purchase the 2019 Caterpillar skid steer that is currently a city lease piece of equipment.
Second.
So motion and a second. Second, call for the question. Councilwoman Garvey.
Aye.
Councilman Harjo.
Aye.
Councilwoman Workala.
Aye.
I'll vote aye. All right, the next item that was removed from the consent agenda was item K. Councilman Workala, is that yours?
It is.
Okay, go ahead.
All right, so, K says approve the partnership agreement between the City of Mountain Home Military Affairs Committee and the Mountain Home Air Force Base and authorize the mayor to sign the agreement after city legal counsel approves the agreement. Okay, so when I read that and then I looked through the partnership agreement, you have the county commissioners listed individually, the commander of the 366th, right, the MAC president and so forth, so, and then the mayor. When I read through this, questions come to mind like, look at C. It talks about money and impact to the community, like the Snake River water pipeline, affordable housing, educational facilities. So my question is the mayor's making the commitment on behalf of the city without coming to council. We're making the we're going to approve this document, but we're not signatories for the document. So I don't think the council should be excluded from potential meetings, decision-making, especially since there's money and impact to the community involved, right? So I guess my proposal is let's get our names on here. So we are actual signatories for approval as well, stating that we have attended meetings and et cetera. Does that make sense?
Councilman Workala.
Yeah.
I think I would say is that on all of our contract type items, the mayor is the chief executive. He signs only after we give him the authority to sign, and so
For this?
right, and so he can't sign it without our permission, right? And so
I'm so sorry.
for any type of like contract that is required, and so I don't personally feel like our signature needs to be on here, but if there's a statement in there that you would like to add, I think it would be more appropriate.
Okay.
Rather than just asking for all of our signatures to be on there. We'll let the record reflect that the mayor's back in the meeting.
So I just want to make sure that I'm so sorry, Mayor.
You're good. I apologize to you guys.
Okay. So I just want to make sure that we're, I guess, privy and invited to these meetings. You know what I'm saying? Like, he is a signatory on there, but if we are able to know when these meetings are, we're in attendance, I don't know. So I understand for this document, yes, you're saying the mayor is the signatory for us, but moving forward with MAC meetings and advisory council meetings and stuff like that, are we getting that information and then we agree as a council for him to sign?
Good, Tim.
Mayor, Councilwoman Workla, specifically on that, so if for instance, they, at a meeting that regarded Military Affairs Committee, they came to an agreement regarding the utility infrastructure on the Snake River water pipeline, and that had some other agreement, MOU, or funding obligation by the city of Mountain Home, it would come back to this body for approval. The mayor couldn't just sign the document and commit
For any-
the funds or any obligations on behalf of the city at that time.
Mayor,
Councilwoman Wilco.
for any of those items that are bold underneath C, it would come to council.
Regardless, any
of
item.
them. Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Those are just some of the key topics that have been discussed with this group in the last while, moving forward.
Does that 700 membership due that was in our bill run, does that grant membership to the mayor and council and all of us? Okay.
Mayor?
Councilman Brennan?
I feel like a sentiment that's on the table is, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that Councilwoman Worklow wants to be invited to a lot of these activities, as would I, and I know we can't all attend without a posted meeting at the same time, but I guess if we could just ask for your commitment to share some invites to the military events.
Sure.
And the things regarding this partnership here.
Absolutely.
Is that fair?
Yep.
Mayor,
Councilman Harjo?
I have two questions. First of which entity drafted this document?
Is this the one from Trace Giles, the Air Force Base? Yeah.
Thank you. Second is under H, funds and manpower. Each party to this agreement is responsible for all costs of its own personnel, including pay and benefits, support, and travel. I do not know the construct of our base liaison's contract. My understanding, and I welcome to any input to correct me if I'm wrong, but my understanding is while the Military Affairs Committee was under the Chamber of Commerce, that the Military Affairs Committee contributed a significant amount of their membership funding and dues to our contracted base liaisons' travel expenses. Under H, this reads as if we, as a city, will now be solely responsible for that cost of travel if we have agreements for per diem and those kind of things. Again, because I'm not familiar with this contract. I would like to get a better understanding of that, and as such, I'd make a motion to table this for 2 weeks so we can take a look at that contract and get a better understanding of what the impact is in-house before committing to this agreement where previously the MAC committee has in part funded travel for our contractor.
Mayor?
Councilman
Question.
Brennan?
Is there anything that's super time sensitive in the next 2 weeks on this?
Not that I think of, because they sent one, and they go, oh, we sent the wrong one, so, yeah, you're fine.
Then I'll second his motion to table this for 2 weeks.
Okay. It's been motioned and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. Councilman Harjo?
Aye.
Councilwoman Workla?
Aye.
Councilman Brennan?
Aye.
Councilwoman Garvey?
Me.
Alrighty here, now we're on N. Let's go run down to item from consent agenda, new business number one, item N, and that's Councilman Brennan?
Mayor, I guess by nature of assumptions, our legal counsel said our plan last time needed changed and we need to go out for bid again.
Yeah.
And I asked Mr. Curtis that this, if we go out for bid right now, this is not going to be able to be completed with the current mobility of the crew that's already on 6th Street. So, not putting words in your mouth, but what I heard you say is that we'll bid it now and it'll be a project for next year likely.
Mayor, it will be down the road, yes. It won't be able to happen while Mountain Companies is on site if they were to get the bid. No, it'll be down the road, absolutely.
Okay, and with that, this extension that is being requested is also not part of the overall plan for this year. It was not part of the road plan for this current cycle, right?
Mayor, no, this wasn't. This came up as an opportunity based on the fact that the 8th Street and 6th Street project were going on.
Sure. And what does I'm sorry for I don't have the right technical term, but what does our road plan show as our highest priority? Right? Not the master transportation plan, but your own planning and strategizing. What's the number one priority?
So, Mayor, Haskett, where it intersects Airbase, is our biggest priority. And that's the project that's in conjunction with ITD for the light, the widening, all of that. That's our number one.
And then 10th Street.
10th Street is
because of the sewer pipe.
Sure. I would have loved to get this done all at one time if it was possible. Unfortunately, now it's not possible. I'm just going to jump right in and make a motion to deny the Public Works Director. Sorry, that's twice. To bid to resurface 6th Street from American Legion to East 8th and East 10th to East 19th.
Do we got a motion? Oh, sorry, got a motion, and I got a second.
Question real quick.
Councilman Harjo?
Do we have a timeline of when this would be added to the streets plan?
We're gonna have to do that at budget prep and talk, so, obviously Haskett, 10th Street, we thought this would be a good, since they're already there, to get it actually cheaper. 'Cause when you bet it now, everyone's gonna know.
Mayor, wholeheartedly agree. I wish we could have put this one through, but by the means of the laws we have to abide by, I'll second that motion.
Been motioned and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. Councilman Brennan?
Aye.
Councilman Harjo?
Aye.
Councilwoman Garvey?
Nay.
Councilwoman Workla?
Nay.
Aye. So we'll run down to, that was all the action items, right? I, J, K, M. Run down to action item number 2, deliberation decision, Rimrock High School golf team. Council, what do you want to do?
Mayor.
Councilman Harjo?
Rimrock High School is outside of our area of impact. But we love to have the ability to help our community in the greater sense. We have a student rate for yearly currently that doesn't really delineate what a student comprises of. It doesn't say on our website that they must be a student of Mountain Home High School, Mountain Home School District. We have that option to say that $170 fee is your mechanism to do that. But does that cover those who do not live in the city of Mountain Home by like our internal policies? I guess is my question. Is there any burden of proof that they live within the city to obtain the student rate at $175 annually?
That's it. Sorry, Mayor.
Go ahead.
Council. First, before I forget, Councilwoman Garvey has asked that you please speak up. She can't hear you very well. So, and I think it's because of this mic. It's my computer. So.
Gotcha. Sorry.
Okay, sorry. Okay, now that.
Thank you.
Yep. That's a youth pass rate. So no matter, we're not checking IDs of the youth, Mountain Home, Elmore County, Owyhee County. That's just a youth pass.
That is the youth annual pass rate.
Correct.
Okay. Mayor, second thing if I can. I got a little bit of understanding about the season for Rimrock. My understanding is there's like 2 different seasons based on like your high school size and your community size. Mountain Homes high school golf team plays in the fall, Rimrock's plays in the spring. We have to be good shepherds of our taxpayer funds, so I'm not keen on just letting anybody who's not contributing to the, to that property tax base just come in for free. It is a small amount of students. I have an idea on how maybe we can come up with like a fair compromise to this, rather than extending free passes for these 8 students. Maybe we prorate that $170 student rate, extend that to Rimrock for the prorated time of their spring session, which if you take that $170 a year, divide that by 365, it comes out to like 4 pennies a day or something. And you multiply that times 90. Like, I'm just taking like a 3-month period of what their season might comprise. It gets you right around the ballpark of like $40 a head. The idea being that we extend them a attainably low cost pass that gets them golf privileges without extending them a zero cost offer.
Mayor,
Councilwoman Workla?
and is this request like within a certain mile radius?
Yes, actually, that is something, sorry, Mayor.
Councilman, Harjo, sorry, brain fart.
That is the other aspect of the thought, is that while we're not checking the IDs of the youth rate, that this particular thing is extended strictly to that school. I don't know if Glens Ferry has a golf team, or if they have a desire to have a golf team. My thought here being that not extending this to like the entire state, but give a blast radius of 25 miles, 30 miles, something to that effect, that gives us the ability to catch some of our outlying communities that like clearly do recreate here, and gives them an opportunity at a low cost to pay for those services at that discounted rate.
Councilwoman Workla?
Yeah, so from the human perspective, man, these are kids. Like, let's help the kids out, right? But also from the business perspective, the library, for example, if you're a non-resident, you have to pay more to attend the library, right? So there's those two aspects I've been struggling with. So I 100% support this idea here to have a prorated amount. They still have to pay something into the community of Mountain Home, but it's given the kids a break so they're able to still reach their goals of what they want to do. So that's my 2 cents.
So the $40, is that your recommendation for the pass? And then that gives them unlimited play during the golf season, where our kids, since they do pay tax, or parents pay tax, they get the free during their golf season. And then we were going to, and correct me if I'm wrong, Tiff, so does Rimrock get the same, other than the $40 fee, if that's what you guys are coming to, do they get the same privileges as the city golf team or the city of high school golf team with range balls during the, because remember, we were going to give the kids once we get it all up and running, what do you call it, a pass card for their, just for the high school kids, just for this, during the season. After that, then it turns off, you know what I mean? Do you give that to, well, obviously right now they get it till probably to the end of their season, if that's what you guys so choose to do. Because we can't charge for a range right now anyways. So I guess, never mind, that's a moot point. I'll just shut up now. That makes no sense, yeah, it's already, sorry, Jeff.
Mayor.
Councilman Harjo. I guess I want to figure it for next season, and go ahead, Tiff.
I'd like to hear from Tiff on this one.
Mayor, council, I think we're a little bit off a little bit. I think we need to get with the Bruno Grandview School District and come up with an MOU that addresses the use of Desert Canyon Golf Course with their school. We don't have that. We didn't even know really that existed. I'm all for the kid thing. Like, I think he's on the right path, but we need a document for staff to follow. We can't just throw out numbers, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I forgot about that one. That's a good call. Councilman Brennan?
Tiffany stole words right out of my mouth. Is that one, like, we're negotiating with a coach who we just negotiated a contract with. And so it's not in our, I don't think it should be in our purview to negotiate with the coach, that rather we should negotiate with the school district. So if the Bruno Grandview School District wants their players to have a deal at our golf course, we have a little contract between the two of us. If Glens Ferry wants the same thing, then we have a contract with them to keep everything on the straight and narrow. Because it sounds like, based on TJ's emails, is maybe they've been getting free golf before we just changed our contract, and now that the contract changed, he wants the free golf again for the kids. And I might be reading into that a little much, but that's how I took it. I could be wrong, but yeah, I don't think it's appropriate to negotiate with the coach to go with the school district.
Now that you put it that way, I don't remember this body saying it was all right for anybody to get free golf, other than the high school kids for Mountain Home. So,
Fair.
Just my 2 cents.
Mayor.
Councilman Arjo,
I throw that out basically as like the jump off point. Maybe that's used to stoke the conversation of MOUs. Tiffany is very much right that some formality needs to be brought to this. Councilman Brennan, you're very much right that there needs to be some formality brought to this. My understanding is the head count of kids is low. So, in knowing that community as well as we do, it's finding a reasonable rate in that MOU, I think, would be my request, is all. Like, let's help support the kids, let's make the thing reasonable, but let's formalize what it is. So
really quick, Councilwoman. So is that something you guys want Tiff to call down to the school district, try to get something brought back to you as quick as possible, that you guys could do a quick special meeting so that we can expedite this for the kids? Sorry, Councilwoman. Oh, go ahead, Councilwoman.
No, exactly, because that's my concern. They're already, 5 weeks into the season, and the season's gonna be over in the next, 6 weeks, 5 weeks or something? It's in May?
According to the email, it says May 14th.
Yeah, so I think this is something we have to do pretty quickly if we're gonna take action on it, so yes.
So are you guys copacetic then, Tiff, calling down there, having a conversation with the I guess he would be athletic director, right, or the principal, and then move forward? And then bounce that back to you guys, and if you guys can meet real quick for literally, if you guys are okay with the MOU, do a special city council meeting, and maybe not tomorrow, but maybe by Friday or something, possibly.
Just for sake of it, because we could probably draft an MOU pretty quickly. Paul could. Is the $40 fair? What's the math?
For the remaining.
Mayor.
To prorate it. Councilwoman Garvey?
I just would like to add that the base has welcomed them for free, and that's where they've been playing. It's not charging them a dime.
And it saves them 20
Because
miles.
they needed a place to go. So I don't know, right or wrong or indifferent, I'm just adding that in, that's where they've been golfing, and they haven't charged them anything.
Mayor?
Councilman Brennan?
As far as the price, my suggestion would be like, absolutely prorate it based on their season. Find out how long the golf season is. Prorate that. We can prorate the first year from the proration, right, for the season that we're in now, and then next year going forward would be the thing. And that proration deal is truly only for the high school golf season, not a year-round pass.
So here, moving forward, is that our marching orders, have Tiff reach out tomorrow real quick and then try to set something up really quick for Friday? Well, actually, yeah, is that cool?
Great with me.
For Friday?
Is that quick enough turnaround?
We would sign it and present it, is that right?
Yeah.
To them?
Well, we gotta we'll have him pull something up, get it down there, right? This is what I'm thinking, Tiff. You tell me.
Yeah,
it's doable.
I don't know how their approval process works. I don't know if they're just going to be able to sign it either. They are a governing body as well, so it may take their approval and they're legal to review it. I don't know, but we'll get to it. I'll shoot you guys an email, let you know. We'll try to get it expedited.
Mayor.
Councilman Harjo?
Thank you guys for that, like, the tip, I appreciate it. An attempt will be made, I think, in good faith, like, we want to take care of these kids in one way, shape, or form, but I appreciate your help.
Sorry, Councilman. This is an action item, so you want to make a motion?
Sure. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to have Tiffany draft, Tiffany and Paul draft an MOU with Rimrock High School golf team, presenting that to them with prorated youth rates that run the duration of the golf team's season.
Do we have a second?
Second.
There's been a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. Councilman Brennan?
Aye.
Councilwoman Workla?
Aye.
Councilman Harjo?
Aye.
Councilwoman Garvey?
Aye.
Run down to item number 3, deliberation decision, Planning and Zoning Commission recommendation of findings of facts for annexation of property address as 2155-2195 West 6th South Street, Air Base Road, property known as Jacobs Plaza. Council, what do you want to do?
Mayor?
Councilman Brennan?
Mr. Curtis, I'll ask you the question. I was going to direct it to the fire marshal, but he's not here. Section, or paragraph 5 on the first page of the annexation says that per the fire marshal, fire hydrants are to be installed immediately upon annexation. Is that our responsibility or the developer's
That would
responsibility?
be the developers.
Okay, then, legal, if there's a statement in here, but it's not in the, the conditions, should we put it in the conditions or make an annexation agreement? Because I feel like
Just for the fire hydrants or whatever you're saying?
fire hydrants, right?
That could be a condition.
A condition?
Yeah, you're not to have a full annexation agreement just for that.
Okay, so once all terms are met, including the fire hydrants, annexation will be blessed off and approved at that point?
Yes.
Right, okay. That was my only question.
Mayor.
Councilman Harjo?
Quick question for you, Mr. Curtis. How close is water to them already?
It's in, I'm sorry, Mayor,
good.
if you've been out to Jacobs Plaza, Runway Estates, which is a development that's been approved, has put in a dirt road. Water's been brought under Air Base Road and it's available directly adjacent to the property.
Okay, thank you.
Council, what do you want to do?
Yeah.
Councilman Brennan?
I'll make a motion to approve the, sorry, let me check one thing real quick. That's already there. Make a motion to approve ordinance number, no, sorry, Planning and Zoning Commission recommendation and finding of facts for annexation of the property addressed as 2155 through 2195 West 6 South, also known as Air Base Road, adding a contingency that fire hydrants must be installed and functioning prior to annexation occurring.
Second.
Been motioned and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. Councilwoman Garvey?
Aye.
Councilwoman Workla?
Aye.
Councilman Harjo?
Aye.
Councilman Brennan?
Aye.
Run down to action item number 4, deliberation decision on Planning and Zoning Commission recommendation of findings of facts to Zone C4 property address at 2155-2195 West 6 South Street, Air Base Road, property known as Jacobs Plaza. Council, what do you want to do?
Right.
Councilman Brennan?
I believe C4 is the correct zoning based on the map that we have. I'll make a motion to approve P&Z Commission's recommendation and findings of fact to zones C4 to the property address as 2155 through 2195 West 6 South Air Base Road.
Second.
It's been motioned and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. Councilman Harjo?
Aye.
Councilman Brennan?
Aye.
Councilwoman Garvey?
Aye.
Councilwoman Workla?
Aye.
All right. Let's run down to ordinance, action item ordinance 1791, amending Mountain Home City Code City Code Title 7, Chapter 3, Section 4, Title Containers, Other Articles Limited. Council.
Mayor.
Councilwoman Workla.
Question, what is, on the back side of the page of the ordinance, what is a trash tote defined as? Who would I ask that to?
Where do you see that
So it says here on C, plastic bags may be used inside trash totes. I just want to know what a trash tote's defined as.
That would be your the residential garbage can.
Okay, gotcha.
This
Okay.
is the language, sorry, Mayor.
You're good.
This is the language that Councilman Brennan wanted
Yeah.
to clean up in our ordinance regarding the plastic bag.
Mayor,
Councilman Harjo?
I'd like to make a motion to suspend the 3 reading rule and read this ordinance by title only for its one and only reading tonight.
Second.
It's been motioned and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. Councilwoman Garvey?
Aye.
Councilwoman Workla?
Aye.
Councilman Harjo?
Aye.
Councilman Brennan?
Aye.
Tiff, please read the ordinance.
Ordinance 1791, an ordinance of the City of Mountain Home, Idaho, amending Title 7, Chapter 3, Section 4 of the Mountain Home City Code of Mountain Home, Idaho by revising allowed containers and other articles, providing a summary, and providing an effective date.
Council, you've heard this ordinance read. Do you wish it to pass? Councilman Harjo?
Aye.
Councilwoman Workla?
Aye.
Councilman Brennan? Councilwoman Garvey?
Aye.
Run down to action item number, and ordinance is action item number 2, ordinance 1792, amending Mountain Home City Code City Code, Title 7, Chapter 1A, Section 9, titled Water Rights Fees. Council?
Mayor.
Councilman Brennan?
Got a couple little changes through delineation if possible. Paragraph B on the first page, the final paragraph, and the final sentence says, or, I'll read the whole thing, and the anticipated development will not represent an increase in water usage or to parcels of land less than 1 acre in size. We've got to get rid of that. That was the intent to, by having that in there, then it takes away everything we're doing. We needed to get the land less than 1 or less than 3.
It was less than 1, I thought.
1, okay. So that, the last part of that sentence needs to be removed. And then, Paul, questions, when it, I'm just gonna read real quick. A water right fee shall be required for all new residential, commercial, and industrial developments. When you spell out residential, commercial, and industrial, does that also include our zoning district that we have of L and O and MH, what is it? I saw it.
LOR.
Light office, and then there was one other that's, it's mobile home park, MHP.
Is it your intent that all development?
Yeah.
Then let's just change it to be all development.
Okay.
I would think that LO would be included in commercial, however, I could see how somebody would try to argue that they wouldn't be subject to it, so that, yeah, that's a good idea.
Okay, just all development, okay. A water right fee shall be required for all.
In all zoning districts.
All new development in all zoning districts. Is that what I heard, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And then, is it more of a question for the council? I wrote this, like, I don't really like how it's worded, but paragraph 2, front page there, the last sentence again, upon approval of the city council, the time at which the fees are paid may be extended, but must be paid prior to the issuing of building permits. That kind of takes us back to that prior argument of,
We did,
certificates of occupancy, that kind of thing. So I just assume at the time they're applying, then they got to pay the fee.
Yeah.
Or at the time of approval, I suppose.
So you want,
I don't know.
so take out, we just did that for the one over in Bradford, right? The certificate of occupancy? Did they pay all that at certificate of occupancy? That wasn't for water though, that was for something else. Wasn't that for the sidewalk,
yeah.
street? Okay.
Getting the street fixed up.
So water, you don't want to do the certificate of occupancy, you want to do it at permit pull?
Yeah.
Okay. Council, you copacetic with that? Okay.
Mayor,
Councilwoman Garvey?
can I get a little bit further explanation of what Councilman Brand's asking?
Yeah, I don't understand.
Yeah.
Look, Mayor.
Go ahead, sorry.
How I interpreted that, where it talks about the water rights fee shall be imposed. Do you have it in front of you, Councilwoman Garvey?
Yeah.
Okay. So how I interpreted that is basically it's just saying that the city council can make it. We can give the approval all the way out to the issuing of building permits, and I guess I just want to remove that and say that water right fee needs to be collected at time of approval of their annexation.
Annexation.
Yeah.
Okay, so, Mayor, excuse me.
Go ahead, Councilwoman Garvey.
So, I guess my question is, actually, you know what, I don't have a question. I understand what you're saying. Don't necessarily agree, but that's okay. I understand what you're saying. Thank you.
Okay,
Mayor.
Tiffany?
Sorry, I guess this would be addressed in the annexation agreement typically. So if the Councilwoman, I know I think you're gonna go this way. When we bring the properties in, we fill out the annexation agreements, and like they may not pull building permits for several years because we're working through, i.e. Meadows Trailer Park.
Yep.
We still haven't obtained all that because they're still meeting all the conditions per the annexation agreement. So they haven't handed us over their water rights, and that would be the exception to say this section. Does that make sense? You've given that approval.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Are you saying it's only? Okay.
Go ahead, Councilman Brennan.
Are you saying it's contingent only upon those agreements where we're delaying, where they have an annexation agreement saying we'll approve it after you do all these other things?
Typically, like, this is the one and only, this one that came before you tonight, where you haven't really bound an agreement. Most of your annexations you've brought in lately have had agreements followed with them.
Yes.
So you would have addressed that water rights fee in that annexation agreement. Yeah?
Yeah. Yeah, I guess, I was seeing it as water being our most precious resource, and if we can acquire it now rather than a development falling through and, never pulling a building permit, then who pays that fee later?
Well, whoever owns that property knows that they have to pay the fee anyways, right?
For development, but not for annexation. Aren't we talking annexation?
But it would be tied in the annexation agreement held to that person who is the signee of your annexation agreement.
I'll defer to legal. What's your?
I defer to Tiffany. In all things. No, if you want, so that's definitely a time when you have somebody most amenable to whatever you suggest, because unless you agree to the terms of this annexation agreement, you're not annexed. And so that's when, if you're going to solicit an exaction, that's when it's the easiest way to obtain it.
What's she saying?
Yeah,
just keep it in
always
there.
what Tiffany said.
Well, now. Okay, then with legals, I'll leave it how it's stated then.
So it's Councilman Brennan's changes through interlineation. Council, what do you want to do?
Mayor,
Councilman
Mayor.
Harjo?
make a motion to
I
suspend.
apologize.
Oh, sorry,
One more-
Councilwoman Garvey.
Mayor, I apologize. I'm via Zoom, guys. I know this is annoying. Can I get Councilman Brennan's first section of where he said under an acre? What portion of that?
Councilman Brennan?
It's the very last sentence of paragraph B, right in the middle of the front page, and the second half of the last sentence.
Okay. Thank you.
Councilman Harjo?
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to suspend the 3 reading rule and read this ordinance by title only for its one and only reading tonight.
Mayor.
Councilman Brennan?
Councilman Harjo, would you add the interlineation notes?
With the notes pertaining to Councilman Brennan's verbiage. Thank you.
Second.
I got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? I'll call for the question. Councilwoman Garvey?
Aye.
Councilman Brennan?
Aye.
Councilman Harjo?
Aye.
Councilwoman Workla? Tiff, please read the ordinance.
Ordinance 1792, an ordinance of the City of Mountain Home, Idaho, amending Title 7, Chapter 1A, Section 9 of the Mountain Home City Code of Mountain Home, Idaho, by revising water rights fees, providing for a summary, and providing an effective date.
Council, you've heard this ordinance read. Do you wish it to pass? Councilman Workla?
Aye.
Councilwoman Garvey?
Aye.
Councilman Brennan?
Aye.
Councilman Harjo?
Aye.
Screw someone. Okay. Run down to action item number 3, ordinance 1793 amending Mountain Home City Code, Title 9, Chapter 6, Section 4, Annexation. Council?
Mayor,
Councilman Brennan?
I'll make a motion to suspend the 3 reading rule, read this ordinance for its one and only reading tonight.
Second.
It's been motioned and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. Councilman Harjo? Aye. Councilman Brennan?
Aye.
Councilwoman Workla?
Aye.
Councilwoman Garvey?
Aye.
Tiff, please read the ordinance.
Ordinance 1793, an ordinance of the City of Mountain Home amending Title 9, Chapter 6, Section 4 of the Mountain Home City Code of Mountain Home, Idaho by revising water rights fees and annexation, providing for a summary, and providing an effective date.
Council, you've heard this ordinance read. Do you wish it to pass? Councilwoman Garvey?
Aye.
Councilwoman Workla?
Aye.
Councilman Brennan?
Aye.
Councilman Harjo?
Aye.
All right. So, really quick, I just want to throw this out here. When we go into budget, we're gonna work pretty wholeheartedly together with all the budgets like we always do, get it to the council. I do want to figure out a way to get 6th Street completed, not because I live on it only. Nobody should be punished because the mayor lives on 6th Street. Because if you drive that road, it's horrible. So same with Haskett, the extension of Haskett and the light, and then also the same with 10th Street, which we have to upsize the wastewater pipe. So full understanding. I want everyone to know that we're going to try to figure out a way to get all of that. So if we can't, we'll have to put off a year. Councilwoman Garvey?
I apologize. Can I go back to N a little bit? I had a little bit of background noise. N was approving the authorization for the Public Works Director to bid to resurface. I understood, and correct me if I'm wrong, the Councilman Brennan's was to not have the Public Works Director go out and get a bid. Am I correct?
Correct.
Okay, all right, okay, I still stand on my motion. I want a bid as well.
Okay.
Good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I apologize for that.
You're welcome. Anything else, council?
Yes. Final comments?
Councilwoman?
Yes. So, Mr. Thompson, Ted Thompson, tonight addressed the council. He did have a proposal, and it was like a question to us about a proposed study of the airport with a board of 5 to 7 members. Just on the record, I wish he was still here tonight. I know it's a long night, but with that proposal, he was proposing Dr. Christopher Waller as lead to do this proposed study of the airport. My comment on that is, if that's the case, I want to hear it from Dr. Christopher Wallert himself, and I want to see his proposal, his plan of action for that request. So I just want to make sure that wasn't ignored. That's my request from the citizen, is if he could have the lead come and speak on what plan he wants to present to the council. Second thing, Mr. Chris Curtis, I know that you said at the beginning of the meeting that you wanted to say something to council, and I remembered, so.
So, Mayor, Council, a couple weeks ago, this body directed an asbestos test on the water lines in the city. Results came in about 3 o'clock today. There was no asbestos nor any asbestos fibers detected in our water system. So that's what I wanted to throw out.
Sorry, brother.
No, okay.
Mayor?
Councilman Brennan.
Since Councilwoman Workla opened the door, I'd like to say that I'm going to ask legal is that Dr. Wallert is the chairman of our P&Z, so I see a major conflict of interest there, and so I'm not going to go forward with that unless he resigns from P&Z, unless I'm wrong.
And what is it for? Like, what service is he providing?
So to my understanding, so Mr. Thompson made a request tonight to council to have a committee built up of certain individuals, ranging from different, like, finance background, business background, legal background, that type of thing, to do their own, what can you say, like inspection or something? Their own assessment. Thank you. That sounds better. Yeah, of the airport activities, and he volunteered Dr. Christopher Wallert, as he titles him, as the lead for that. And my only, I guess, comment is like, if this individual, if Dr. Wallert wants to take the lead, I want to hear it from him, and I want to see a plan. I want to see what the proposal is, what they're going to do, actually. So.
It isn't a legal conflict of interest.
Say that again?
It is not a legal conflict of interest. I leave it to you guys as to whether it's a political conflict of interest or whether that would, or hear from him as to whether that would be in conflict in his own mind with his duties and responsibilities as the planning and zoning chairman. But I don't perceive of a legal one.
Mayor. Councilman Harjo.
Mayor.
Hang on a second, Councilwoman. Councilman Harjo.
Some of the verbiage brought on this topic through the emails that we received and some of the commentary tonight indicate that part of the desire is to create an authority over the airport with this commission and or this assessment through that compiled body of people. I don't believe that fits within our plan of how we govern the airport that the city owns. I'm open to hearing the commentary. I am very much with Councilman Brennan on the perceived conflict of interest internally. I'm happy to hear out what the proposal is and happy to decide on it after we hear about that.
Councilwoman Garvey?
I was just going to say, Dr. Christopher Wallert is welcome to do an assessment without our approval. They can assess the airport as they wish. But what I would like to see is the ability for the mayor and the four of us council to just sit and have a few minutes, whether it be an executive session, I don't know, to chat about what is going on, because we're getting a lot of emails and a lot of people that are asking us to fix things, but we haven't had the ability to sit down and talk about it.
Councilwoman Garvey, I concur with you 100%.
Second.
So what we're gonna do is we'll schedule an executive session.
Yeah.
Where we can all chew on everything.
Yeah, we're just getting a lot of information, and,
Right.
and I don't want anybody, Ted, our current director, Tom, I don't want anybody to feel like we are ignoring their requests. However, it's hard for all of us to talk about it. And Ted has valid points that I don't think we need to ignore, and we haven't heard all sides of the story. So, okay, perfect. That was my 2 cents.
Perfect. All right.
Mayor.
Tiffany.
Jeez Louise.
Trying to get you up here.
No, I don't want to be up there. Okay, there was a public comment regarding the workers' compensation rates, and so to save the email for you to talk to your citizens about, it is based off of annual salary depending on where they're paid out of. So i.e., if it's a police officer, the percentage of what state insurance fund charges us by payroll dollars and how we allocate it out. So that is why. So everybody allocates into our pay system differently. So like a clerical may not cost as much as for instance, police officer. Golf, if they've had claims over the years, that gets it's all balanced out and amortized. So it's controlled by state insurance fund, and then we run it through our payroll documents. It's very formulated. I'll gladly share it with you, but that's how we get those numbers. And it's annual. That's an annual cost.
So like a contractor is way more expensive than a clerical person because
And-
less chance of getting hurt.
Correct. The police example is probably our citizens on patrol. Like, we pay the work comp rates on volunteer firemen, COPs, the contract, some of the people who do work for us, Fitzer's group, like different things like that. We end up paying percentages on, so. Okay?
All right.
So that way it saves you the time. Thank you.
Meeting adjourned.